I'll welcome everyone to a lovely, bright and sunny, as you can tell, completely non-threatening Saturday game day here at C Plus Content. We are here to play a fun little game of Call of Cthulhu. If you are not familiar, well, you should be, but also, hey, content warning, like all of them. So this is a horror game. This is a game about mostly very, very regular people encountering things that are so far beyond them that it breaks their minds if it does not kill them. So yeah, it might get a little dark, or who knows, it might be super silly. We'll see. But before we get into the game proper, let's go ahead and introduce our victims. I mean guests. Hey Duck, why don't you start?
Yeah, I will be playing Dr. Barry Douglas Mather, traveling salesman of his miracle elixir. I'm just a regular guy. I play D&D on Wednesdays with this guy over there, over on my channel. But other than that, I'm ready to experience the horrors of the endless void.
Kelly.
All right. Hi. I'm Kelly, or My Fair Kelly. It's been a while since I've been on this channel, or really any channel, but I'm excited to get back into TTRPGs, and I'm excited to see who Sister Stephen ends up being.
Or what? Anyway, hey, villain.
Hey, I'm your only villain, or now my new nickname, Vil, which I don't know where that came from. I am playing John Doe. He is a burglar. So he kind of hops all around the East Coast, doesn't really stay in one place. He actually doesn't remember anything past like his second or 22nd birthday. Something happened and he has no memory prior to that. So he's kind of on his own, kind of doing his thing. So
Awesome. Well, I made the mistake before stream of mentioning that a couple of the players have received a little bit of advanced information, which just let Doug know that he wasn't one of the couple of players. But we begin the action on a road outside Fall River, Massachusetts. It is vaguely early 1920s. Prohibition is in full swing. Although there are some exemptions to prohibition, like doctors who can prescribe whiskey, and religious officials who have access to lots of wine. So it's all fine. But this is a outside of Fall River is pretty rural. The sun has just set. It was a lovely day for those of you who are in this part of the country for your various reasons. But as the sun set, the leaden clouds grew. Those of you who are driving, which is BD and Sister Stephen, can feel as the gusts of wind buffet your cars. The cloud deck overhead is lowering at an alarming rate. You haven't yet experienced the downpour, but you know it's coming. And you're anxious to find either your planned destination or some sort of shelter before what looks to be an almighty storm blows off the Atlantic. Now, BD, you're a kind gentleman, right?
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah, always doing a favor for your fellow man, and you're looking at everyone as an opportunity to sell your elixir. So I imagine that if you passed a reasonably well-dressed, but obviously not wealthy individual hitchhiking on the road, you probably would have picked them up.
Of course. If I have room in the car.
Yes.
Yeah.
And your fancy new car.
Fairly new. I've been successful in recent years.
Yes. With your elixir, that definitely works. And isn't suspicious at all. So, John, if that is your real name. As you were making your way to your set destination, you had decided just to walk. I'm going to say you had taken a bus to Fall River, and it was only about 10, 12 miles. So you thought you would walk because it was such a lovely day. You weren't expecting the storm to come. So while ordinarily you wouldn't necessarily put yourself at the mercy of a stranger unnecessarily, you did decide, especially as you saw this fancy new car, obviously someone who's doing well in life, to give it a try. So right now, John and BD are in a car. BD is saying what?
So pal, where are you headed?
Actually, the old church. Actually, actually was meeting a friend there. Yeah.
I'm new to these parts, and what business do you have in the church? Are you a God-fearing man?
No, just meeting up with a friend. They asked me to meet them there to, kind of help them do some things. So just heading off to the old church down the way. I'm actually kind of not really from around here either. I just kind of travel kind of all over the East Coast, kind of making it by type of way.
That makes two of us.
Nice.
You wouldn't happen to have any aches or pains or maladies that you can't quite shake?
Not today.
Oh, well, if in case you do encounter them, I am a purveyor of a miracle cure-all of my own design. You wouldn't happen to be interested in purchasing a bottle or two?
Kind of like a elixir of life type of deal?
Yes. You're familiar.
Yeah.
It's what the nation a few years back, and then the government came in and shut down all the ones that didn't work. I'm still working.
How much is it for a bottle?
50 cents. Take a swig a day. It'll be right as rain.
Yeah. When we get to the church, I'll buy a bottle from you.
Excellent.
Well done. Sister Stephen, you are in a car, likewise, in a rural road. However, the storm has already caught up to you. You feel maybe a bit ill at ease given the reason for your being here, so far from the charity home that you helped to administer. And if you were a superstitious woman, you would feel almost that forces were working against you. But as we know, you are very no-nonsense and not given to flights of fancy. But your knuckles are a bit white. There's maybe a bit of perspiration trickling from under your habit as you struggle to stay on the road. You're maybe not the best driver, but you know that you are close. So what is going through Sister Stephen's mind?
I could be at home right now, back where I should be, enjoying some tea, or keeping someone in line. It's what I could be doing. It's what I could be doing.
As you mentioned, keeping someone in line, I'm going to say you probably reach down to the seat next to you and fondly pat your extremely heavy ruler that you carry with you everywhere, just in case someone needs some correction. As BD and John, his new friend and potential customer, acquaint themselves with each other, John, you're not quite sure exactly where you are. You're keeping your eyes out for a landmark that your friend Nikki had provided you to know where to turn off. But by your estimation, you're fairly close. The sky falls. BD, you're keeping your eye on the road, although you're probably occasionally turning to look at your new friend, suss him out.
Yeah.
Wondering if you can. He agreed to buy one bottle so quickly. Maybe he might even be tempted to buy a case.
I've been thinking about branching out into these fireproof underpants. They're made of the finest grade asbestos.
Right. So as you're sharing you notice something moving in the sky, and it startles you because it looks like something solid and massive crashing down toward you. Reflexively, you look forward and realize that it's simply that cloud cover. Something has happened, and both of you can feel almost as your ears pop. Some massive change in the atmosphere is causing the cloud deck to just crash down. And in moments, you go from the threat of a storm to full-on rain, hail in the cloud. Your visibility is reduced to nearly nothing. What do you do?
Well, looks like I'm glad you picked me up. This is a pretty nasty storm. I didn't think it was supposed to storm today.
Yeah, I'll say. Wasn't expecting this.
Maybe we should probably pull over and kind of maybe try to wait it out and see if maybe it blows over and we can continue to drive. I mean, it is your car. You do what you want, but
how far away is your friend in the church?
It's fairly close, but at this point, I can't see anything. I can't see a single landmark of what he said to look out for, turn down this way or anything like that. I can't see a single thing.
Well, I'm sure it'll let up soon.
Yeah.
We're making good time, and I need to be at my destination.
Okay.
So, I would like to attempt to continue driving through the near zero visibility rain.
Well, the good news is there are no other cars on the road. And so maybe occasionally when the wind buffets especially hard, you can kind of feel one of your tires going off the road into the verge. Going at a relatively slow pace, you're able to, you're not going to run off into a ditch. Unless another vehicle suddenly appears. It's a bit larger than yours. In the few moments that you have to register it, it's some sort of truck. A little bit higher up.
Yeah, I would probably swerve a little bit, give it extra room.
I think I need
or is it
both Sister Stephen and BD to make driving checks.
Cool.
Now the question is, are these hard driving checks? Or are they driving checks with a penalty die to reflect the horrible weather? I think that makes sense. Neither of you is particularly spectacular at driving. So let's just add a penalty die to those rolls for both of you.
Can you explain once more what a penalty die does?
So a penalty die, for those not familiar with Call of Cthulhu, the characters have attributes and skills and things like that are all expressed as a percentage. And the objective is to roll percentile die, so a 10 and a 1, and hit that percentage or lower. Therefore, as the percentage goes up, your chance of success goes up. Penalty die simply means that you roll your 10 die twice and take the higher, thereby reducing your chance of success. And there is a bonus die if the situation is favorable to you, in which you take the lower, thereby increasing your chance of success.
So it seems like it's kind of like disadvantage and advantage in D&D.
Very similar. It just predates.
Where advantage, you would take the higher.
Yeah, it just predates that.
The lower.
Predates it and is the flip.
Okay. Yeah.
This is a roll low percentile system.
No joke.
It was a 21. It's actually an 81 over 35.
Beautiful.
I'm gonna say I don't need to roll my 10s die twice, because my first roll was 3 zeros.
Your first roll, is this your first roll ever in Call of Cthulhu?
Yes.
And it was a 100.
Nice.
So something very special happens when you roll exactly 100. And that means you fail horribly. It is a critical failure. Something really, really terrible happens to you. Interesting.
Can I
And
make a
Sister Stephen.
suggestion?
Sister Stephen, yes.
What if we crash, but instead of us getting injured, his stock gets hurt of his bottles?
Oh, that's not enough.
I do have
Just
2 5-gallons tanks of alcohol in the back. Very, very flammable. Just letting you know.
I don't think it's bad enough for that.
Okay.
Maybe if it weren't pouring rain. So, however, yes, your plans for the next couple of weeks, Dr. Mather, change in a moment.
Yeah.
You swerve to avoid this oncoming truck. You see the truck just kind of jerk back and forth as the driver clearly is not entirely in control. You think for a moment the driver is a nun as your headlights flash and just a look of panic on her face. The front corners of the vehicles clip each other. Although her truck is much older and fairly beaten, it avoids the brunt of the collision. You, however, spin out. And your vehicle is quite heavy, and even though you weren't going very fast, it has quite a bit of momentum. You and John are dizzied by the spin until there is an almighty crunch as you slide down into the ditch and up against probably the pillar that once supported an old stone fence. You pause for a moment, and then you can hear further clattering as this stone pile begins to collapse onto the roof of your vehicle. You are fairly certain that a lot of your stock has been damaged, and there may be other things that have happened. But I would like both of you to give me a Constitution check.
Thankfully, Constitution is my best. So, what are the chances of getting 3 zeros again, huh?
1 in 100.
50.
Pardon, what was that?
85 over 50.
Oh, okay.
11 under 80.
And that makes that a
Critical. What's the
extreme
term? Quarter.
success.
Yeah, extreme.
So 50% is a hard success, 20% is an extreme success, and then of course 001 is a critical success, the opposite of the 100. So I will say, BD, you may not be the best driver, but perhaps you've been in a few bang-ups, but you spent more time behind the wheel, certainly, than many individuals. So you know, there aren't really seatbelts, but you understand how to brace yourself, and you do. You brace yourself even before the collision. John is less lucky. Now, you aren't ejected or anything like that, but you are going to take a bit of damage just from being bounced around on the inside of this vehicle. Just one.
Okay, not bad.
It's one of those things that it looks worse than it is. So, ringing ears, crick in the neck, immediate blinding headache, as you both are stunned for a moment. Sister Stephen, this giant, very, very, very large, new-looking sedan comes plowing out of the storm at you. Clearly, the driver is incompetent because they didn't even try. In fact, they swerved into you.
The road was wet.
However,
whatever.
The good Lord provides, and you are able to stop your vehicle. The engine is still running. The tires seem to still be inflated. You don't know what the Reverend Mother Most Superior is going to say when you return this old jalopy back and it's been crashed up, but you do know clearly it's the fault of these heathens. What do you do?
How far is Sister Stephen from her destination?
You're not sure.
Okay.
You know you're very
Does it
close.
seem-
It's been a few years since you have been there.
Mhm.
So you know it's in this area. And the instructions you were given didn't provide a lot of detail, kind of relying on your memory. But last time you were here, you were with a group and you weren't driving, so your memory's a little bit fuzzy. What your plan was to go until you saw something that you remembered, and maybe you'd have to track back and forth. I will say, actually, you have already done that. You have gone in the opposite direction a ways and then realized that perhaps you missed it, and so you're kind of working your way back. You know it's very close, but the storm, unfortunately, is making it, and your preoccupation with the storm has made it difficult to monitor the landmarks.
I think Sister Stephen realizes she can't really make out much landmarks right now with the rain. So at least considers putting that on hold and checking to see what happened to the other car. First, about getting out of her car. Just giving a cursory glance.
Well, I think, it's not really a spot hidden. I will just say that from where you sit, you can see that the other car, I'll say that, one of the headlights is still functioning. I think they had headlights. Anyway, if not, in this world, they had headlights. Is still functioning, so you can see where it is. And the sun isn't quite out. I mean, it's quite dark, but there's enough ambient light, and especially in the flashes of lightning, you can see that it's still upright. But I think your instinct is probably, car accidents in these infernal machines, when they go wrong, people tend to be hurt.
What would be more common for the average person to do? 'Cause I know it varies on country and times. Do people check on people generally during this time?
Oh, 100%. Especially a member of the clergy. I mean, you're not a priest, but you might have to, minister to someone's dying moments.
Okay, well then that's what she'll do. She'll look for something to cover herself with, maybe just a tarp or an old newspaper, and run out and goes and checks on what she assumes is the stupidest driver in the world.
Yeah. I'll say that you have some sort of like canvas rain cloth, especially because you're out and about a lot. So as much as you would not like to, you wrap yourself up, open the door, and just it sounded loud inside the cabin of your truck, but as soon as you open the door, that roar and rattle becomes a moan and a hiss of the storm around you. It's also surprisingly warm. It's late spring, early summer, and it's, as I said, it's been quite pleasant. But in your experience, storms coming off the Atlantic, the water is often it's quite cold. But this is almost like the temperature of tears, let's say. Surprisingly warm on your skin, which is good. You had braced yourself for the shock of cold rain and wind, so it makes it a bit more bearable. Count it as a blessing. And you make your way over to the car. There you see. What do you look like, BD?
I'm a mid-40s, kind of stockier man, nice bowler hat, waxed mustache, else clean-shaven, and currently looking a little angry, a little frustrated, not so much concerned about my passenger.
Speaking of the passenger, John, What do you look like?
Late 20s, early 30s. It's kind of hard to kind of pinpoint his age. So currently he's rocking a goatee, kind of like what I have currently. Kind of some 5 o'clock shadow on the sides. And he has kind of like a hat, kind of like Zero, a patty hat on. And kind of like somewhat of a suit, somewhat skinny build. A little more agile than the driver.
Right. Ordinarily. And Sister Stephen, what does BD see when he looks out his window as this person emerges?
Basically what you see. Just a standard mid-30s nun with a very furrowed brow, as in like a permanently furrowed brow. She immediately runs over to the car and bangs on whatever window or anything, and half tries to see what's right, half tries to tell someone they did something wrong, as she's very good at.
Yeah, the moment the beating on the window happens, I look over, I open the door, and I say, "Hey, what's the big idea?"
Well,
Or I tried to.
you try to open the door.
Yeah.
Well, first, for the benefit of the audience, let us show them your lovely character portraits. So this is what they see in each other. And I think I'm going to need you, BD, to give me a strength roll.
Okay.
Because the frame of your vehicle has been warped.
Yeah.
As he's trying...
20 under 40, which is a
Hard success.
hard success.
Yeah, you try and it doesn't work. And so using some of your frustration and just the residual adrenaline from the crash, you just rear back and shoulder into it. Sister Stephen, you kind of have to hop back as the door pops open.
And it immediately after my aggressive response, I notice it's a nun, and I'm saying, "Pardon, sister. Are you okay? Were you in the other car, the truck?" My tone shifts immediately.
She's a little stricken with words, just seeing how okay you are. She's like, "Well, you should not be as okay as you are," and she just kind of thanks God and just says, "Well, as cursed as you may be, child, there's been some blessings on you tonight." And she just says, I think she tries to figure out if either the people in the car have seen some sort of semblance of what she's looking for this evening. Maybe a particular turn that she's like, I know it was around this, I want to say, maybe it was on some sort of gas station, and she just can't find that one or something.
Well, you're looking for a sign. I will say that no roll needed. Nothing in your brief interaction with this gentleman suggests anything. You can certainly have conversation to draw some things out. You do, however, hear a groan from the passenger side.
And then I realized I picked up a hitchhiker.
Who's currently hanging
John.
out the front window, just bleeding everywhere. No, you're fine.
John, are you okay? How'd you fare?
So actually, while they were talking, I actually wanted to try to sneak out the window and try to get out my side. Is that possible?
Well, let's see. Why don't you give me a luck to see if that window is broken? It'll be much easier to sneak out if the window is broken.
That is a 41 under 70.
So indeed, the window is broken.
Someone's lucky.
It's 5 minutes. So I'm gonna So while they were talking during their conversation, I'm actually going to try to get out the window and get into the truck.
All right. So I think that is a combination of two things. I think it is a combination of climb and stealth.
Okay.
One, to see how, because it's not easy, and there's a bunch of stuff that flew into the front seat from the back seat, and things are all twisted around, and your noggin's a little bit rocked. So there's the physical task of actually getting out, and then there's the stealth of not being seen.
Mm-hmm.
Would the stealth be easier because of the heavy rain?
I'm going to say that the physical part is probably a little bit harder, and the stealth is probably a little bit easier. But let's get a sense of that climb first.
So I actually rolled the stealth first, if that's okay.
We'll keep it.
Okay.
But then
Right,
the climb.
So then go ahead and climb. Oh, that is a 1 under 25.
So, well, that's a critical success.
Yeah.
Regardless.
And then my stealth was 28 under 60, which is a hard success.
So you don't injure yourself. You, for your very own reasons, just as soon as you realize that no one's paying attention to you, you brush the broken glass off yourself, very, very dexterously extricate yourself from the vehicle, and then low run. You can certainly see the headlights, and you can just over the noise of the storm hear the kind of rattling engine of the other vehicle. So you get to the truck.
I'm gonna turn it around and continue driving the way that we were driving towards my location.
All right. So as BD turned to say, "Oh, wait, John, are you okay?" John is not there. I think I would like both BD and Sister Stephen to give me a spot hidden. This is not to determine whether you'll notice that the truck is moving, but like how quickly you'll notice it.
Fail. 40 over 25.
Okay. Now, you could spend 25 luck.
No thanks.
By the way, I'm totally fine if you, on things where only one person needs to succeed, like figuring out a clue or spotting a thing, you can have table talk around like who's going to spend luck. So I don't want two people to spend a bunch of luck just to get a success when only one success is needed.
Makes sense.
Sister Stephen.
96 over 50?
96 or 86?
96.
Well, the good news is you have a 50 in that score, which means that's not a critical failure, but it is a fail.
Okay.
So, BD, you are distracted by wondering where John is. And I think probably in your mind, it's like, well, oh my God, was he ejected somehow? Mm-hmm. Sister Stephen is completely engrossed in this tableau until the truck begins to pass by you. Sister Stephen, BD probably has his head in the car, and you're standing outside, and you probably catch it out of the corner of your eye, and you turn to see as this gentleman in a flat cap, soaking wet, is driving by. Now, John, I'm going to need you to make a drive with a penalty.
Okay.
Which is a combination of the weather and also the fact that you're still slightly concussed.
So 30, 42 over 20.
So you are not a good driver, but you are savvy enough to realize that driving this like a getaway car is just going to wind up with you wrecking again. Mm-hmm. And potentially being hurt much worse this time. So you are against your better instincts, which is probably to get the heck out of there. your sense of self-preservation takes over. So you were just crawling by.
Yeah.
What happens? Sister Stephen, as someone is clearly attempting to take...
I'm running after the car. Well, it would probably make more sense to try and perhaps get the other car moving. It's not what she's thinking.
You're not a mechanic, but it's not going anywhere. It's got hundreds of pounds of rocks on the car. Yeah. So
yeah. She's dropped her coat and everything. She's just like putting all her energy into chasing after that car and slapping whoever decided to take her car.
All right. So Sister Stephen, that's my truck. Drops the little oiled canvas, pulls out the ruler, and begins just sprinting. I mean, actually, you don't even have to sprint. It's not going that fast. But just takes
2
off.
2 miles an hour, 3 miles an hour.
Yeah,
something like that.
just takes off. BD, you clearly hear this.
Oh, well, have a nice day.
Well, I will say you look up and there's a conveniently timed flash of lightning such that you can see as John has his head cranked around looking at the nun running at him.
Okay.
So you know now where he is.
My expression is dumbfounded. Well, glad he's okay. And I turn back to the car, looking for the oiled car tent that I have, hoping it wasn't damaged in the crash.
And that was a 100.
It was.
Yeah, it's gone.
Okay.
It's out in the cornfield somewhere.
Sure, but I still take the moment to look for it.
Yeah. So this is a duel between Sister Stephen and John. So Sister Stephen, I'm not going to put us into an actual chase because the chase mechanics are a little bit more complicated. I'm going to say no roll needed given the speed and your motivation to catch up. So what is it that you are attempting to do? I mean, you can hop up on the running board very easily and you're sitting there face to face with this dude. What is it that you intend to do?
Just because it's how I picture it. Sister Stephen runs and jumps on the hood of the car.
Okay.
Banging on the windshield, blocking his view and being like, you have to stop.
Okay.
What are you doing? Pull over.
So John, a nun in full habit, hops up on the hood of this vehicle, by which I mean kind of jogs up next to it and kind of climbs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
flip the windshield wipers on, come off.
All right. So I think that's worth another drive.
Quickly becoming a vaudeville.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's worth another drive with setback there, John. Now that you're busy trying to fiddle with this, you really can't see where you're going because all you've got is a view of none.
Got a 91 over 20. Yeah.
All right.
Just creeping forward.
So
windshield wipers are going, horns blaring, just kind of flipping things, just gonna go away. This is mine now.
So I will say, in your frustration and your flipping switches and all this kind of stuff, you stomp on. It wasn't a critical fail, right? It was 91, I think you said.
Yeah.
But close to it. So I will say you stomp on the accelerator. Just maybe thinking you can shake her off. And that thought of being cautious is now look, you're caught. You got to get out of this. Yep. So you stomp on the accelerator. The truck kind of fishtails a little bit. And we have this very cinematic scene of you jerking the wheel and Sister Stephen holding on. And probably simultaneously cursing you out and praying for your soul. And you do, however, run off the road. I think I need a dexterity check from Sister Stephen and another constitution from John. I mean, you didn't get up to, this truck doesn't go at high speed. So you didn't get up to terribly high speed, but it's enough that this is going to be problematic potentially. So Sister Stephen,
Okay.
dexterity.
34 of 40.
Under 40. Okay, good.
Under 40.
And John?
I got a 42 under 50.
Okay. So it's a little bit jarring. And I'm going to say you get a little bit of a bruise as you're thrown into this big, hard wheel. But nothing breaks, nothing problematic. Sister Stephen, the progress of the truck is immediately halted. And then you just kind of slide backward off the hood. But even in your like 50-pound soaking wet, heavy layers of wool habit, you somehow manage to do a little bit of a flip and land with nothing more than a few scrapes. So no harm to either of you. Right. The thing that had arrested your forward progress was a sign on a pole.
What does the sign say?
It is a landmark that should be familiar to both of you. In fact, it marks a turnoff, a smaller road that likely sees some traffic, but not much. Grass and weeds grow up in the center. It's more a track of wheel ruts than it is a proper maintained road.
Mhm.
But I think in the second after, John shakes his head to clear it, and look, good news, no none. Bad news, you see this pole right in front of this truck, and you can see the dent in the front where the pole has potentially impinged the proper functioning of the motor. You do look up and see just the bottom of this sign. And you probably just see neural heart, just like the part of the word, but it's enough in your mind to connect that this was actually the landmark you were looking for. Sister Stephen, you see the full sign, Chapel of the Eternal Heart.
So her first thought is, cool, great. Then the second thought is, all right, so this is the fun part, right? And I go over and I berate John.
All right. You know what I think that sounds like? This is a little bending of the rules. I think that sounds like an intimidate to me.
Why would a nun be good at intimidation?
Right?
They're intimidating.
Oh, 60 under 70.
All right. So you aren't bringing the full heat. Maybe you're still a little bit distracted by the fact that you're standing in this terrible weather.
And I survived flying off a hood.
Yes. So maybe Sister Stephen is feeling generous at the moment and doesn't bring everything that she could. But John, I mean, I don't know what your experience with nuns is, but this nun is not one to be trifled with. You would rather be facing 5 uniformed police and some sort of federal agent with guns drawn than the look that this nun gives you.
I'm gonna look behind the truck and see if I can't see Mathers, right?
Yeah, Mathers.
I'm gonna look
Yeah.
to see. I'm gonna see if he's kind of running up behind us.
I'm not exactly running, but like I notice that everything's destroyed. I have nothing left, so I decide to leave it there and walk in the direction of where the other two went. So like I'm not really in a hurry.
Okay.
But
yes,
I'll arrive soon enough.
Yeah, you see in a flash of lightning that the stocky form of BD Mather kind of shielding his head from the storm, making his way toward you.
I'm going to unlock the door and open it and then slide over. I'm going to assume it's probably like a bench seat of some sort, with it being like a truck.
Yeah.
I'm going to slide over and let the nun in.
Okay.
Let her have the driver's seat.
Well, Sister Stephen, that's what happens.
At that point, she would probably just take the ruler and keep hitting you until you got out of the truck.
Now, are you hitting him to
Like,
do
she's-
actual damage, or are you just...
No,
Yeah,
just
okay.
just like being like a pest. Like,
So the nun just begins wrapping you with this ruler. And it's not, I mean, rulers back in the day were a very different thing than the little things that you pick up at Target these days. But it is not damaging, but it's quite painful. And even with your, shall we say, less than impeccable morals, you probably realize you deserve it.
Yeah. So with that, since I know that I stole the truck and I slid over to try to let her in out of the rain. As soon as she starts berating me with the ruler, I would like to try to do like a sleight of hand to try to steal the keys and then get out of the truck.
Oh, to snatch the keys out of the ignition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were there keys?
I don't know.
I would assume so. I mean,
this wasn't like
Remember there was
the
a
time
point
of
where there
the
weren't
button
keys.
and the hand crank.
Yeah,
that was earlier.
I don't know. I'm gonna add a penalty die to that because you're currently being beat about the head and shoulders by an angry nun.
okay. Okay. 43 under 60.
That was your high?
Yeah, both of them were 43s.
Oh, cool. So excellent. So yeah, you as you're kind of flailing, you kind of cock an eye over and just reach and grab the keys, which you have them. I'm gonna say BD comes up at this point, and you see the nun just.
Yeah. I'm gonna hop out the truck and then kind of start heading down the pathway. Kind of like, this has gone to hell. I'm out. It's okay. I'm done with this. I tried.
Okay.
I imagine Sister Stevens looking over the truck, making sure nothing was stolen. She probably doesn't know there's the keys because that's probably not what she's
Well,
thinking
you might
is
spot
being
hidden.
stolen.
You can spot
What?
hidden to see.
Okay. Yeah, no.
Okay. You don't notice that. But no, and there wasn't much to be stolen.
Yeah.
Right.
She's just doing the right thing, and then she's like trying to make sure the car still works. Like she maybe doesn't try to turn it on. I imagine she probably takes a lap around the truck to see what the damage.
You can tell even from the cab that there's just a gout of steam coming out of the front.
Okay.
And when it hit that post, it stopped running. So your guess is that it's going to need some repair. The good news is you are minutes away, even by foot. This little side road is not very long. Your destination is actually kind of in the flashes of lightning. You can't actually see it, but you can see the stand of trees that you know that this little path or little track kind of cuts around, and then behind that is your destination. And this gentleman that you, this heathen, is walking in that direction, in fact.
Is there anything I need to gather from my truck, or am I pretty much set?
You do have a little tin box with a thermos of hot coffee and a few little treats for the father. It appears to be, it got knocked into the wheel well, but it appears to be undamaged.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think she was just take everything she needs to take out of the truck and look back to see just how far BD is.
Oh, he's standing right there.
Yeah, I'm standing.
And I immediately hand you the stuff.
Yeah, without like hesitation, I'm already reaching to grab it from you. Please, sister, let me carry it for you.
Yeah, we'll say that you have a canvas satchel with, let's say, a Bible and a rosary and other, like, little things that you might need. And then you have this little tin pail that has a lovely kind of dinner and some hot coffee that you were planning on sharing with the father.
At that point, I think the Sister Stephen will just kind of do a bit of a better introduction than yelling through a window, and start heading after John and just kind of be questioning, who is that person? Do you know him?
Are you talking to John or to me?
To you.
Okay.
About John.
I picked him up on the road not a few minutes prior.
I swear the devil's in him. Well,
It's 2
I'm
cars.
going this way. Sorry, continue.
That's 2 automobiles. He's been in a crash in. So
It wasn't my fault.
Maybe he was just rattled.
Maybe.
He's of an age to have been in the Great War. I think it would have occurred to both of you. For some reason, BD, health or some other reason, you were not able to join. But this individual might have been. He certainly seems a bit skittish.
I might have been out of the country at the time. You know,
Yeah. For various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Visiting
South America.
Doing your work for the Central Powers. I mean, whatever. It's fine. For the Kaiser. It's all good. So I mean, I think that is a common thing that many people in this era would have to deal with, especially with young men who might not respond well to stress. So as angry as the sister is, I know that she has encountered, especially in the care home, individuals who aren't bad, but sometimes they make poor choices because of the horrors of the war.
I think with that knowledge, Sister Stephen would just be like, well, I'm headed this direction, and cheers that so is he, and let's just be cautious if you plan to join me.
Gladly, if you'll have me. Looking for any form of civilization so I can telegram someone about my car.
But there's nothing more civilized like a church. Follow me.
Yes.
Reminds me of college.
So you trudge through the unrelenting downpour. In fact, it feels like it's getting worse. It feels like it can't get any worse, but it feels like somehow it is. I'm going to say, unless John is running, they catch up with John.
No. John would have been just walking fairly briskly through the rain, kind of like, I'm getting rained on. I don't like this.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of walk a little quicker.
So I will say they catch up with you just as this little track makes the turn. And at about the time when everyone can then see this stone chapel. It's of a decent size. Sister Stephen, you know that this chapel was funded by one of the wealthy mill operators, specifically for the garment workers and the mill workers. The mill that the population supported burned down mysteriously. This would have been a decade or more ago. And since then, it hasn't seen a lot of care. And it has fallen in part to your diocese and the Sisters of St. Agnes to occasionally come by and check and make sure things are okay. And Father Thomas does occasionally hold services here because there are, more rural families. But the folks in Fall River have a lot of congregations to choose from, even though it's not a huge town. So it has fallen into a bit of disrepair, but you can tell that a pretty penny was put into it. It is larger than it needs to be. It is quite architecturally interesting, rather Gothic looking. So the camera pulls back at these three turned away from the camera, kind of standing on a bit of a rise, looking down, just as the lightning strikes behind this high-peaked roof of the Gothic edifice of the Chapel of the Eternal Heart. You can see a faint glow, warm and inviting, coming through the, not stained glass windows, not on this side, but thick leaded glass, so it creates a bit of a prism effect. It looks like exactly that oasis of civilization and sanctuary that you were thinking about, BD. And there is a vehicle parked there.
Is John in the process of stealing it?
No.
No. As we walk up, I'm just finishing telling Sister Stephen that I earned my medical degree at the University of St. Louis of Medicine, a Jesuit school. So
Good old St. Louis.
yeah, but not a stranger to nuns.
Right.
She goes, well, that's quite impressive. Do you think you could possibly help your new acquaintance? Our new acquaintance?
Well, I'm a bit out of practice, and especially since my a stock of cure-alls was damaged in the crash. I could administer first aid, some brief medicine, but without any sort of tools, I'm not sure how much I can help. I'm a doctor of the body, not the mind.
So,
Well, as long as you can repair what I'm about to do. And she takes the roller and she wants to do she wants to do some damage, but not real damage.
I think that
feel it.
That actually provokes a belly laugh from BD Mather.
I will say, if you're attacking to actually cause damage, but like really whack him, like you can see the back of his hands real wet, so you just know that you can get a real nice smack, raise a welt. I'll just let you do it for free. Okay. So yes, John, everything seems to be calmed down. Then you just feel like a bee stung the back of your hand, and you hear, even over the sound of the storm, this crack, as just quick as a whip, that ruler snakes out and hits the tenderest part of the back of your hand, catching like the middle knuckle. So, yes. BD, would you give me a luck roll? Because I am a kind and benevolent keeper of arcane secrets.
Absolutely. My luck is 50. And that's a 42. Under
Excellent.
50.
I will say, because you did take a moment to scour your vehicle for anything salvageable, and you know that if it weren't dark and in a storm, there's probably more that you could recover. But you were able to find one of the wooden cases with the handle that has a dozen of your bottles of elixir.
Excellent.
So you do have that with you for all the good it will do.
Yeah.
It might make good Molotov cocktails. You never know.
It is like 98% alcohol. Yeah. So
yeah, it's straight up hooch. Anyway, so yes, that is the tableau that we see, that moment of release, and at least I've got some of my elixir.
Mm-hmm.
The weathered but heavy and well-crafted doors of this little chapel spring open, and a woman rushes out. Actually, spot hidden for me first, because this is all kind of happening at once. But I want to see if anyone...
All of us?
Yes, because you're all standing there. Okay.
I got an 8 under 60, so that's a hard success.
Oh, very well done. Nope.
Or extreme, my bad.
Oh,
extreme
extreme
success.
All right, so
yeah,
extreme success.
12 is...
So as you're sucking on the back of your hand, to get the sting to go away, maybe holding it up into the rain, hoping it'll just wash the pain off, you see your eye is attracted by movement in one of the windows. And of course, it's this, heavy kind of diamond-shaped panes of glass. It's difficult to see what's through it, but you are certain that it's a face looking out at you. But before you can really register, that's when the door pops open, and a woman, maybe a little bit younger than middle age, but certainly not young.
About my age, about 28, 30-ish.
Oh, she's probably in her 30s. Ever so slightly, I wouldn't even say heavyset, plump, I'd say. Dressed nicely, but rather plainly. A little kerchief over her head. Look of abject horror on her face. Comes screaming out into the rain at you. I would like everyone to make a sanity roll.
57 over 50.
Okay. None. Oh, sorry, 1. 57 over 50, so take 1.
10 under 65.
Take none.
23 under 80.
Excellent. Take none. So, John, your nerves are a bit frayed from the events, from being in 2 car accidents and being beaten up by a nun for the past 15 minutes. So this shakes you, right?
I would say John probably doesn't exactly bolt, but he definitely runs to the nearest tree to hide behind.
Okay.
Just kind of gets out of the way. Kind of, yeah, I don't like that. No.
I think as a physician and a member of the clergy, your instincts are probably more to provide aid than to run hide. And this woman does. She's running towards you, and you can see her look surprised, and then immediately run to you, BD.
Whoa, slow down.
It's horrible. It's horrible. Don't go in there.
Why not?
I can't. I'm just the caretaker. Nothing like this has ever happened to me before.
Well, any place is better than out here in the rain.
No, I can't go back in there.
No, it can't be that bad. Are you sure you're not experiencing a bout of hysteria? I happen to have a medical cure-all that...
Everything. Yes. So you know what? I think that's a persuade.
Yeah. Not a fast talk?
Oh, well, you are trying to convince her that it's a cure-all, so that's technically not true. So sure, make it a fast talk. You just immediately, instinctively go into your patter.
Of course. That's a 17 under 75, so that's a hard success. Isn't it 1/5 for the extreme?
Yes, you're right.
Not 1/4?
Yeah, you're right. It'd have to be a 12.
I would like to spend 2 luck to get it to 15, which is 1/5.
Okay, good. So deduct those luck. She looks kind of uncertainly at you, but long enough for you to pull out one of the jars and shake it and pop off the top. And she smells what is effectively straight up whiskey.
Oh, it's higher proof than whiskey, sir.
It's straight up moonshine, with a little something herbal in it or something.
Epsom salts, some laxatives, some crushed up aspirin.
Just random, yeah,
kerosene.
So she will absolutely take a deep swig.
Good. Now, why don't you slow down and tell us what this is all about?
Well, I knew the father would be here, and I had planned to come before he arrived to, do a bit of cleaning and sweeping and make sure the place was nice for him. But I got caught up in town. You see, my sister's been ill, and I had to stop by and see her and make sure that she was eating properly. She hasn't been the same since her Edgar died. But then, once she gets talking, let me tell you, she doesn't go out much, but she hears so many things, and all her friends come by and tell her all the stories. And so I have to admit, I frankly got caught up in the gossip of the town. And I know, sister, I shouldn't be gossiping, but the alluring nature of the devil and hearsay. So I have to admit that I submitted to temptation. I spent longer than I could, and by the time I got out here, the weather was turning, and I thought I would have to apologize to the father for being late, and then I went in, and oh, it's dreadful, just dreadful.
Sister Stephen kind of speaks up and just goes, "My child, just get out of the rain. Let's discuss this back inside. I will lead us. Nothing wrong will happen here, as long as I or the father is here."
Oh, the father is inside. I'll come with you. I believe that you'll protect us from. Well, you'll see.
Would I have managed to secure my cane from the crash?
Sure.
Like I would probably keep it with me, like next to the driver's seat.
Yeah,
rather than in the back.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Maybe it got dinged a little bit and you can't pull the sword out, which is
makes sense.
why you don't have any points in sword fighting.
Yeah.
Yes. You enter. It's a lovely little chapel. Some candles have been lit. It's warm in here. The stone having absorbed a lot of heat from the sunny day, radiating. Even though the wind and rain outside isn't so cold, it's still unpleasant to be soaked and just being dry for a moment in that kind of cozy. And even as you step into, you can still hear the rattle and patter of the rain on the windows, but just this big, heavy stone building around you reduces the din of the storm significantly. Your relief, however, is quite short-lived, because the father is indeed in the chapel. He is, however, no longer with the living. It is obvious that he has been brutally murdered. The position of his body is distorted and twisted. Even without examining the body, you can see a massive gash from ear to ear, a giant pool of blood. He has one arm thrown uncomfortably, perhaps dislocated, up above his body, fingers extended. One leg twisted under the other. I think that's another sanity roll.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. There.
91 above 65. So
Okay.
fail.
D4.
Kind of a bad fail, but not
D4.
92 over 80.
D4.
We hear 93.
No, 47 under 49.
Okay, 1. All right.
Okay.
Remember to try, it's impossible to take 5 at one go for this, but do keep track of how much you lose in total, because you do have that threshold at which you become indefinitely insane. So, yes, this is the sight that greets you. The woman is she's far enough inside so that the pouring rain isn't hitting her, but she kind of disengages from you as you all sort of instinctively take a few steps in to get a closer look.
I look at John. Kind of tilt my head towards it. Why don't you go check it out? No. I'm not saying you did. Just maybe you should get a little closer, see what's going on.
I think while this is going on, Sister Stephen will try to pull the woman away from the body and try to calm her down.
Oh, she's way back at the entrance.
Yeah.
She's just
that way.
Okay, so you're gonna go back with her. Okay.
Yeah.
And I left one of the bottles with them.
Okay.
Sorry.
I guess I'm gonna do a spot hidden on the body just to see if there's anything kind of more out of place than kind of what the eye sees. I'm kind of not getting super close to it because I don't really want to get close to a dead body.
Yeah.
But
You're being careful not to step in the blood or anything like that, but kind of
Right.
doing a circuit around it.
yeah.
It is lying in front of the altar, but not on it. So you can actually do a full circuit.
I'm gonna go ahead and use 7 luck points. Oh.
Okay.
Well, we have a boon. Is that just 5? Minor boon?
Yeah.
You guys mind if I use a minor boon?
That plus 2
I'll
luck.
go down by and that plus 2 luck?
Yeah.
Do it.
Okay. I don't know the command to use.
I'll do it.
Okay. And that will put me at 60.
So a
60.
success.
Yeah.
Well done. So yes. There are 2 things that strike you as odd aside from the fact that he was obviously slain. I will say, well, and not that long ago. And I know you weren't getting close to the body, but
Like the blood isn't drained yet.
yeah,
It's simple things like that. Yeah.
little things. Yeah, you're not really skilled enough to be able to do like a estimate of time, but the impression you get is that this happened quite recently. The 2 things that strike you as odd are the position of his hand. The impression you get is almost like it with the last bit of strength that he had as his lifeblood poured out of him. He painfully reached in that direction. It doesn't look like it fell. It would have taken like muscular strength to place it in that location. The other thing that strikes you as odd are the strange sigils that surround the body. They appear to be inscribed in some sort of chalk or other powdery substance.
I'm going to look at BD and be like, I don't know what those symbols mean, but I think that's more maybe in your field. And I'm going to look down his hand to see if maybe there was something in that direction that looks like he was trying to reach for it.
It's pointing at a wall.
I'm going to go over to the wall and just kind of start kind of tapping it and see if there's any loose bricks or...
Oh, okay. Yeah. Spot hidden for me. What is everyone else doing?
I'm going to look over my shoulder at the 2 women and approach the dead body. Get a closer look at it now that the decoy, I mean the other person went first to make sure that there was no imminent danger. Yeah.
I got a 42 under 60 for spot hidden.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second.
And I'm just surveying the area, remembering my medical training, like trying to look at like, did he die from the wounds? Were they inflicted before his death? Like, how long has this been? Was it like a one and done thing?
Yes. So your choice between spot hidden and medicine.
Yeah.
You might get slightly different information depending upon what
medicine.
you're looking. Okay.
My spot hidden is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a 72 over 64. So
now,
fail.
You have time. You could push the roll. Just be aware that the consequences of failure are higher. Now, obviously that's a little bit different depending on the situation. The consequence of pushing a climb roll when you're halfway up a cliff is obviously significantly higher than something that's purely internal.
Okay.
But you can always, outside of combat or any other situation where redoubling your efforts doesn't make sense, you can always push a roll. You can't push luck rolls or sanity rolls. So if you would like to push, all that is required is that you tell me how you are changing your approach, redoubling your efforts, or otherwise adding additional effort.
Okay.
What was your first?
I take off my like jacket and overcoat, put them on like a nearby pew, like squat down, like get within the sigil, actually like start like inspecting things with my hands rather than just like looking at it, like moving his body, like that sort of thing.
Yeah. Go ahead and re-roll it then.
Re-roll both die or just the tens?
Yeah. Both of them.
Wasn't sure if it was like
nope, it's a straight up re-roll.
78. It's worse.
And you can't spend luck on a pushed roll. So okay. Well, I think there's a good logical reason for why. It's the sanity check you're gonna have to make when you step into that circle.
Yeah. That absolutely. 72 over 65 or 63.
Okay, D6.
A D6. Wow. That die ran away. Hold on.
If you drop a die, it rolls max.
Okay, no. 6. Hey, I'm okay with that.
No,
I'll find
fine.
it later.
No, not at all.
Do you have another D6?
I don't know where it went. So.
Let's see. Do you have another D6? I can roll it for you real quick.
Yeah. Go ahead. Roll.
Got a 1.
Aww. Boo.
Yeah.
I'm willing to take double.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
For the penalty.
It's all good.
Okay.
So while what happens is disturbing, it doesn't shake your grip on reality quite yet. You're looking and you're just not getting any information. So you decide to move closer, and perhaps the camera focuses in on your foot as you hesitate to cross this line of sigils, and then you decide to go, and so you step in. As soon as you do, this sound, whispering, guttural, like many voices, many women's voices, but deep and husky, just like there's 15 women with hoarse voices right behind you, whispering gibberish into your ears. You feel constricted and claustrophobic, as if you're in a very small space. Your perception of the room alters. Suddenly, the room is enormous, but also right up against you. You can feel almost as if the entire building tilts underneath you, like you're on a boat out in the Atlantic and a swell has hit. A moment of dizziness strikes you, and I will say you even stumble back, kind of down onto your butt and elbow, just instinctively moving away from that area.
Could I attempt an occult roll?
Yeah.
To try to divine, because I'm a little bit into that. Like I have a 19 in the skill.
Yeah.
So
you have higher than the standard person.
Yeah. That is a 1.
001?
001.
Nice.
Ooh. Wow.
Nice.
Will
Let's
you
go.
now? Okay. Will you now also, because this is going to trigger a couple of other things, will you now give me another sanity roll?
Of course. That is a 99.
Oh, come on, bud.
Do you have higher than 50 luck? Sorry, sanity?
I have 62 sanity.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it's real bad.
Yeah, it's
now
real
make
bad.
an intelligence roll for me.
And okay. Uh, 66 under 70.
Oh no. Okay, so I'm going to explain what happens. So, sometimes sanity just happens. Sanity loss just happens. And it's just like the stress of running across horrible and unexplained things.
But, one moment. 66 under 70 is a success.
I know.
Okay. Just wanted to
Oh, yes.
make sure that...
I'm going to say sometimes the success is bad.
That's fine.
Specifically in this sequence where because you know enough to be able to understand what you're seeing, that exposes you to knowing some things.
Yep.
And so the knowing a thing about these sigils is what triggers the sanity piece. It's the intellect role or the intelligence role is to understand, like, does your mind lock onto that and really, really understand it? Or does it just go, nope?
Yep.
So if you fail your intellect roll on cases like this, that's actually a good thing. It means that your brain just kind of goes, I'm out.
I just wanted to make sure I was rolling the correct dice with the correct mechanics.
Yes, this
and
is
all
a
that
weird
was
thing.
Translated correctly.
Yeah, this is
Cool.
I'm employing a mechanic that often happens.
Excellent.
But specifically because this is exposure to something that is supernatural. I'm employing the mechanic where I'm giving multiple chances to not be affected.
Yeah, too bad.
2d4, please. On the sanity.
I do have a D4. Okay. A 1 and a 2.
Well, good for you. You don't have a bout of temporary insanity. This is not I would say probably not a practice or belief system that you have studied. But you are, because you have lots of time to read, and when you hit a new town, you often hit the library or bookstore, and you've learned all the little dark nooks and crannies where strange information can be found, mostly looking for formula or other ways that you can either enhance your elixir or come up with new patter to talk about the supernatural properties of your elixir. You've been exposed to a lot, and you know that this is designed to consecrate a death, to funnel the power released by a sacrifice into a divine being, to cause it or entice it to manifest. And that this is a old and dangerous magic that has been worked here. I would say with your background also, knowing that it was a priest who was sacrificed is abhorrent to you.
I'm going to quickly step out of the circle.
Oh yeah, I'm going to say as part of all this, you kind of pushed you have scooted your way back. You got your back up against a pew and are just like shaking.
Yeah. Cool.
You're still hearing the echoes of those voices. That was a very dramatic thing that just happened, so everyone notices. I think John has just pulled out a book from a little bookcase and has just noticed that there's like a little keyhole. When you're distracted by no, and then stumbling and crawling noise, as BD is clearly in distress.
I'm gonna assume there's like pillars in this.
Yeah.
Like, so he's gonna instantly, as soon as he starts hearing no, and then kind of hear him backing up, he's gonna run behind a pillar and kind of like, I don't want to be in the line of fire, but I still kind of want to see what's going on.
What happens?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking everyone.
Okay. I'm still like shaking in shock, and also the other half of my mind is like spinning, trying to grapple with this information.
Yeah.
My name's
You have a very
Stevens.
vivid memory of the book that you read.
Mm-hmm.
You were in the treasured tome in Arkham, maybe 6 months back. You had, and it's a, you know, especially with the university, there's a lot of students, young people who, you know, you alter your patter a little bit about how it's, you know, it's good for your vim and vigor and your charisma, and it'll get you the dates and that kind of stuff. So it's usually a pretty good windfall when you make your way through Arkham. But you had taken some of your leisure time to visit Mr. Lester Carney, who runs the Treasure Tome in Miskatonic. Near Miskatonic University in Arkham, and he, knowing you and knowing that you have a fair amount of money, let you kind of peruse the stacks while he was helping another customer. And you had made your way back into one of the little antechambers where he keeps some of his more interesting stock, and had found a book and had opened it. And although you didn't really understand it, the book wasn't in English, and was quite old. You just remember the iconography as being compelling.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, you were quite startled when Mr. Carney tapped you on the shoulder, and realized just from the pain in your back and knees and the tension in your shoulders that you had been standing there staring at this book for hours, perhaps. So you're that's where your mind is going, is forming the connection of where you were exposed to similar sigils.
Okay. Cool.
Hey Zero, your camera disappeared.
I'm still here though.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Sister Stevens focused on the person who was freaking out. Has she reacted to BD's reaction?
She probably flinched.
Okay. I mean, I still feel like Sister Stevens going to be focusing on trying to get information that is somewhat logical, but first, I think she would try to calm her down so she has a better chance of getting clearer information.
Yeah, would you give me a psychology?
Yeah. Ooh. Psychology. Aw. I was like, oh, I got 28, but it's over 10.
Okay.
You know what? Yeah. I'm going to use my luck.
Okay. You're gonna use 18 luck?
Yep.
So we also have a boon, a major boon. I think takes 10 away?
Yeah. So you could just spend 8 luck.
That's up to everyone else. Would y'all be okay if I did that?
Go for it.
I'm okay with like spending the boons as soon as we get them.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Let's
same.
do that.
I mean, that's the point of them.
Yeah, and that way we don't like metagame too much, like saying, okay, we have like this many boons saved up, we can just waste this roll. Like it just
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
So yeah, I'll spend 8 of mine and take that boon.
Yes.
Awesome.
So she's actually quite calm. Perhaps Mr. Mather's elixir is more potent than you anticipated. Or perhaps she's simply in shock. But although she is still slightly trembling, she does not appear to be, she doesn't appear to be entirely out of sorts. Or maybe it's your comforting presence.
My child, what happened here? And please, choose your words carefully.
I was late. I had intended to be here before the father, but he was already here when I arrived. And when I saw, and she sort of gestures over towards the body, I fled. And then I saw you.
So he was just, you saw nothing other than the father as he is.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not used to this game. Is there a version of insight?
That's psychology.
Okay, so
I think
am I getting that?
I think you didn't. It wasn't an extremely good success. You know, it was just a bare success. But I think the fact that Kelly is slightly suspicious might mean that Sister Stephen is slightly suspicious. Not based on any evidence, or any certain knowledge, but just based on something's ever so slightly off. It's your decision whether Sister Stephen simply writes that off as, you know, someone who's had a shock, or holds on to that mote of suspicion.
I think she'll note it, but not address it immediately. She'll want to see what she's doing later on. If she's just keeping an eye on her, I think now she'll turn her attention to BD.
BD is mid swig of one of his elixirs.
I mean, is there anything I can do to calm BD down other than just being like, my child, what is wrong? How can I help?
Yes. Your social skills can be useful in calming someone down, which means you could fast talk them to distract them. You could persuade them, which is a bit more like reassuring, or you could convince them he needs to snap out of it. Which of those is more in line with what Sister Stephen would do?
The latter. Yeah, it's less caring and more, why aren't you being better? Like, be better. Why aren't you being better? So what am I rolling here? Would this be intimidation? 52 under 70.
So, BG, as you are having your flashback, suddenly none is looming over you.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say it does snap you out of it a bit.
It still seems like a little lost, but he's more present. He quickly corks the bottle again, puts it back in the carrying case. So ritualistic, whatever it was. I heard voices, saw sigils from my past. In a book, in Arkham, I think.
Does that ring any bells for Sister Stephen?
I mean, I think if BD shares more details, like I'm assuming it's kind of like a little bit of a stream of consciousness as you're recounting.
Yes.
So you know,
but like very, very stilted. But
yeah,
it eventually gets a lot of the information out.
I will say, you know, the name Lester Carney. He's not a Catholic, but everything that you know about him is that he's a good man. He runs obviously is a bookkeeper, so he or bookshop keeper. So he's a bit of a studious fellow, very knowledgeable about history. You probably have had a few conversations with him, but he's a fine, upstanding citizen. So that's probably the only thing that you recognize as like, oh, I know that person.
Yeah. I think Sister Stephen, being the no-nonsense nun she is, just thinks that you are perhaps a little too invested in your potion right now, in your concoction, and maybe tries to fetch you some water or something. And just says, just sit here, and you sit. What are you doing over there? And she points to John, and just.
So Sister Stephen kind of like looks down at the now half empty bottle of elixir and probably pulls it out of your hands and caps it. That's enough of that for you.
Make a strength roll. I'm not letting go.
That's not good. And maybe you do have that hot coffee that you could give to BD to perk him up, and then as you go to get him a bit of refreshment, cast a disapproving glance and word towards John. John, there's no apparent threat here.
Okay. I was gonna say, as soon as there's no apparent threat, I would probably turn back around to the keyhole and try to pick it.
Awesome. So,
And I would try to just somewhat disguise it as like I'm looking through the bookshelf, like at other books, as I'm trying to pick it.
Well, then give me a stealth and locksmith.
Can I do a spot hidden since I was pointing and like looking at John?
Yeah, we can do it opposed.
Can I also make a roll?
Sure.
Can I make a psychology roll on Sister Stephen as to why she isn't more worried about the slaughtered priest?
Yes.
Okay.
So many rolls.
I'm just gonna go ahead and save you guys, and I got 100 on my stealth, and just gonna go ahead and just save that. Don't even. Clearly, I'm not looking at books. I'm clearly doing something completely different. But I did get a 40 for the sleight of hand.
Well, I'm going to say that the consequence of the terrible failure is that you're not going to get a chance at the moment to pick that lock. And there's some complication there anyway, which we may learn about in a moment. But so, yeah, you go to turn back and you're like, oh, I need to be stealthy. So you kind of like turn your back a little bit, and then your elbow hits one of the books that you had previously pulled out a little bit, and it just kind of like dominoes out. An entire shelf falls one by one, clattering, and of course the flat side hitting the flagstone just makes smack noises.
Absolutely.
Everyone kind of jumps and looks over in that direction, and you're just kind of standing there frozen as one last book kind of falls out, hits you a little bit, topples, and then smack onto the floor.
I would say Johnny, if it hit him and like hit him, I feel like he would just like light it back.
And then one more, and you just kind of push it back up.
Yeah. I'm gonna slowly just kind of like turn and look at everybody.
Yeah, it's super sauce.
I mean, Sister Stephen will join, but I feel like BD had a roll.
Yes.
Yeah, there is a dog barking in the background, so if you hear that, that's on my end. I got a 20 under 50, so a hard success.
Excellent. So I will give you some insight, and then Kelly can add any additional color. The impression that you get of Sister Stephen is that she is very practical, and in some ways very worldly, but in a positive way. Someone who is simply not caught up in fanciful things.
Okay.
And is a problem solver as opposed to someone who might dwell in mystery. And frankly, cool. Someone who your read of her personality is that she is someone who is probably good to have on your side as a result of that pragmatic viewpoint. Anything else that you would add about Sister Stephen's current state of mind?
The dead can wait.
Yeah,
cool. that satisfies BD's curiosity. Like,
yeah. So John would probably just classify Sister as just like a classic, no nonsense, minimalistic type of person. You have a certain thing that you have to do, and that's it. It's straight to the point.
Sister Stephen, would you give me a spot hidden?
That was a 16 that I rolled, and that was hidden.
Yeah.
Under, I mean, it would be a hard success.
Well, so now that you are up here, and I think it's because, you were up, you were very focused on BD, and then distracted by John, and then kind of turning to go. And then all of a sudden the book debacle happened. So maybe something subconsciously in your mind with the books fired. And as you kind of look back, you see the very, very edge of a familiar book. Well, journal, really. Just peeking out from underneath the father's body. An old kind of cognac colored leather folio that he carries with him to prepare sermons or to make notes after his meditations. It's something that you've seen him with, and maybe you had noticed it previously, but the situation with the books kind of made it rise to your consciousness, but you do see it.
I will find some form of cloth I can use so I don't have to put my hands on the blood. But I will go over and take the book out from under the father's body carefully, not to disturb the body in any further way than it clearly has been.
All right. Give me a sanity roll.
Fun.
As you cross the threshold of the circle of sigils.
Oh, 20 something under.
Okay. You do feel strangeness, but perhaps it's just nonsense put in your head by Mr. Mather's ravings, and as you do with all things or many things that you can't see or touch, put it out of your mind. Pull a little handkerchief out of your bag and grab the journal, say a short prayer under your breath for the father, who was, in your estimation, not particularly effective, but nice enough. Certainly didn't deserve to be slaughtered in this terrible, terrible way. But yes, you have his journal.
She takes a breath and maybe takes a seat before she opens it to read it. She starts with the back of the book, and then...
Well, you flip through. Certainly you recognize his writing, so you can confirm that this is his. You flip through some blank pages, then you hit a section, and you kind of have to backtrack a little bit. And what you're seeing is, you see a half-finished sermon. You see some notes about a set of repairs that need to be done to this building or that building, typical business of the parish. But interspersed are cryptic notes, references to a saint, Saint Christina, in fact. And you see on one page a rather large block of text in the father's rather cramped and spider-like handwriting. But that text is not in English. And on the opposite page, you see what looks to be the start of a translation. Words stricken out, many kind of like, does it mean this, ? He had apparently copied some passage into his notebook and in his spare time was working on translating it. You flip the page and there is a drawing. It appears to be a drawing of the sun. But the typical, circle with rays coming out, but the rays are all sort of wavy in a way that is a bit unsettling. And in the center of the sun is a symbol of sorts, 3 orbs with a boat or some other kind of curve underneath in the center of the circle of the sun, surrounded by these tentacle-like waving forms. In English, written underneath it, Medallion of St. Christina? Question mark? You flip back to the other page. As I said, the language is not English. And it is not a language that you speak, but you can tell from looking at it that it is a derivative of Latin. So you can make a hard Latin roll. You know it would take time to actually do any translation, but if you can succeed at a hard Latin roll, I can give you more information about it.
I fail.
Okay. You're like, oh, it's Italian. I don't really speak Italian, but it's close enough. And then you look at some of the individual words and realize that those aren't Italian words. So it's something like Italian.
I think she would look to Mathers and just maybe consider sharing it with Mathers, but try to see if he seems, I don't know, slightly more sober with the coffee.
Yeah. Well,
At the moment, he's looking at you with respect, because he's just finished a psychology roll, understanding that you're a no-nonsense person is good to have on his side.
yeah. Yeah. Also, I'm kind of like looking at my bloodied hands and considering going out into the rain to wash them off. But because I was handling and moving stuff around at the scene. But I'll approach and say, grisly business. What's that? What's that notebook?
Possibly nothing. What do you make of these words here? And like she points like 3 or 4 words that she's not familiar with, but feels like if you know the language, you might recognize those words.
Okay.
So it is not a language that you know.
Correct.
And I don't
only
think
know
that,
English.
And you only know English, but there's a chance. So, and you have traveled quite a bit.
I have.
So you can give me a no roll, which is basically roll your education. I should explain. So there are 2 special ways that you can use a couple of your stats. If you're just trying to determine that if you know or recognize something, and it's just a general knowledge thing, like, oh, what have run across this, and it doesn't map like really to any specific skill, you can just roll your general education. That's a no roll. There's also an idea roll, which can be very useful when the player is stuck. So you want to know if the character might have a moment of inspiration, and you can simply roll their intelligence and see if they get an idea. So in this case, I think a no roll makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Random question.
Yes.
What is considered a high, I guess, ability stat?
50 is the average for people.
Okay.
Investigators, even if you don't know you're an investigator, all the player characters are investigators, tend to have higher intelligence. Actually, I think the minimum that you can have is a 40 than the average person, but 50 is normal human average. 75 is typically like you can certainly make a living at it, and you're probably an expert, like a local expert. As you get higher and higher, you become like the best in your profession. If it's a knowledge or a skill, or like one of the strongest people in the world, or a champion athlete kind of thing. As you get up into the 80s and 90s, and 100 is like, or 99 is the highest that is humanly possible.
So like an 85 would be really, really high then.
85 is quite exceptional.
Yeah.
And then
Like-
I'm
like-
assuming
BD's con is 80, and he's like a really stocky, heavy set guy.
Okay.
BD has probably never been sick a day in his life. With an 80 con.
That's because of the medical elixir,
right?
I was gonna say John has an 85 in both Dex and Intelligence.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Well, my education is a 66, and I rolled a 39.
Oh.
I would like to use luck to push it to half.
Yes.
So that's 6 points of luck.
Wonderful. So you look at it, and you have very much the same instinct as Sister Stephen. It's clearly a Romance language. And at first glance, some of the words look like misspelled Italian. And kind of even like looking over at some of the rough translation that's already been completed. It's like, oh, like this little phrase. And in fact, the phrases that the father had translated are those that are the closest to Italian. But then you get like, is that a little bit of French or something? Like, it's just not quite right. There are words that you don't speak Italian, but you know the words, like that are quite a bit longer, that are kind of shortened. There's strange abbreviations. There's some articles that you don't recognize. And I will say, you, at some point in your journeys, had run across, either you had been there or you'd read a book about Italy. And you know that, in fact, this notion that Italian is a thing is false. Is false. And it has really only been very, very recently, in terms of like the span of history, that there's been any kind of prominent. So like the Toscano dialetto, if you will, its prominence is quite recent. And really Italy and parts of France and Switzerland are just this kind of continuum of languages. And dialetto in this context doesn't mean a dialect like we say a dialect of English. It doesn't mean it's just like it's like a different accent. It's really different languages that are derived out of that continuity. So you know that this originates somewhere in the kind of northern Italy, kind of Lombardy region. It's one of the many kind of subtle shadings of Lombard, which is similar to, it's closer, although to read it looks quite Italian, but it is in fact closer to French and Occitan and some of those languages than it is to actual Toscano Italian. So you read a book about the languages or the history of an evolution of language in Italy, or the history of the Romance languages or something in your spare time, and it just like floods back into your memory. So you know what part of the world this comes from.
I think I read like a like I really looked into like Marco Polo and that whole like travel to the Orient kind of thing, and use that to spin my yarns. So I know a bit about like those regions from that time.
Very well. And these are languages that in the 20s are still spoken, but even now in the 20s are dying out.
Yeah, I'll mention this to Sister Stephen, and he is much more centered now. The panic has worn off.
I mean, I feel like while Sister Stephen might have an idea, Kelly doesn't. Can I roll for idea?
Yeah.
Okay. I got 30 under 75. Oh, so hard success.
Okay. So as as BD is talking, you are thinking about the one thing that you think you should know about, and that is Saint Christina. There are two stories of Saint Christina, and they're not. You're not quite sure like where in the world, and like many stories of saints, and one of these is from I think like the 5th century, so one of them is quite old. But as he mentions, oh, this looks like one of the dialects of northern Italy. It's like, well, maybe that's one of the places where one of the stories of Saint Christina originated. But what you know about Saint Christina, the two stories, is that she was the daughter. The oldest story is that she was the daughter of a wealthy noble who was a pagan and who wanted her to become a priestess in his, satanic beliefs or whatever. Not satanic, straight up pagan. And she didn't want that. So and my camera overheated again. Apologies. I'm still here. And so she resisted, and he locked her into a room with 100 pagan idols for months, a year, and exhorted her to pray to them and to make sacrifices to them. Now, the story is that she found God and threw the idols out the window, and then was persecuted, first by her father, who had her burned, raked through a fire, and yet she somehow survived. He had her dunked, had a stone tied around her neck, and she was thrown into a lake. But an angel came down and freed her, and she appeared again above the water. He was going to do something else to her, and then he died mysteriously, and then someone else came in and was going to, exact vengeance on her. And eventually, however, she was stabbed through the heart with a sword and died, and is therefore one of the earliest martyrs. The second story of a Saint Christina is a young woman who was quite faithful, who died and was buried and then came back to life and then behaved rather oddly for the rest of her life, doing strange things to herself, like throwing herself into the ocean and off cliffs, and throwing herself into briar patches and putting herself at all sorts of risk, and yet somehow not dying. She has not been canonized, but she is often considered the other Saint Christina. And in your mind, something about the young woman who is subjected to things that should kill her and lives. Perhaps these are different versions of the same story, or frankly, given your mindset, perhaps that latter Saint Christina from, I think, the 13th or 14th century was just a poor woman who had some sort of unfortunate fit and then suffered some sort of trauma as a result and then behaved oddly for the rest of her life. But there is something odd about it. There is that through line. Your eyes look up behind the altar. You see our Lord. And then in the niche off to the side, you see the statue of Saint Christina.
I've been here before, haven't I?
Yes.
Has that always been there?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then without hesitation, I walk towards it.
It's frankly fairly generic. I mean, it's probably something that someone carved to be the Virgin Mary, and then altered it a little bit to be sort of generic female saint. It doesn't have any strong iconography, but then again, either or both of the Christinas are quite obscure figures.
I mean, I just want to make sure there's nothing out of the ordinary around here. Like, bit of blood, maybe some sort of scrawled note, or
Yeah, you can
maybe
certainly,
a...
yeah, you can spot hidden.
Okay.
I will even give you,
Ooh.
if you needed, a bonus die, just because you know more about what you're looking for, because you understand the history behind it.
It's a bonus die, like the 10 die.
Yeah, 10 die and take the lower.
I rolled a 0 on the first one, so 7.
Oh, yeah, you can't get better than that. Is that a hard success?
Oh,
Or is that an extreme success?
spot hidden. That is extreme.
All right.
7 over 50 or under 50.
Oh, yes. Well done. With an extreme success, this statue is recent. It's a knockoff. It certainly hasn't been here for very long. It was here the last time you were here. I mean, you didn't examine it closely, but your recollection is that this statue was here. It's very kind of plain and not particularly worthy of notice, but nothing suggests that it has changed since last time you were here. But as you look closely at it, not only is it new, but you can tell by looking at the kind of pattern of wear and discoloration on the stones that something larger was here for a very long time. So with that really exceptional spot hidden, something stood in this place for a very long time, and in the past, you don't know how long, but not very long, was replaced with this very generic statue of a female saint.
I mean, I don't know what Sister Stevens might be thinking right now, but Kelly's like, what's John doing over by the bookshelf?
Yeah, what is John doing? Other than watching all this from behind a pillar.
Since everybody's kind of didn't really react too much about the books falling, I would assume that he would try to attempt the lockpick again, and this time just whatever. No, apparently no one cares what I'm doing over here, so I'm not gonna be stealthy about it. Just gonna try to lockpick it.
I was preoccupied at the time.
Yeah. All the books falling, no one really reacted, was like ran over and was like, "What are you doing over here? Why are you knocking books over?" No one really cared. And his sister went over to his
bodies on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would try to say he tried to do it again. If he can't get it, then
Yeah. So give me two things. Give me spot hidden with a setback and or with a penalty die, and then also give me a lockpick or a locksmith.
So spot hidden, I got a 27 and a 43. So 43 under 60 for the spot hidden. And then the sleight of hand is a 58 under 60. So both successes.
Good. So you are aware as you are, you're moving over. You're not trying to be stealthy this time. You're just kind of moving over, taking advantage of the fact that everyone's eyes are off of you. You are aware that the kind of mousy woman who has been watching all this from the back of the chapel is moving in your direction. Perhaps she's curious about what you're doing. Therefore, you are not surprised when she attempts to stab you.
I was just about to say, with her trying to sneak towards me, I feel like John would have probably pulled out his pocket knife.
Well, she's not trying to sneak towards you. She's simply moving in your direction.
Correct.
But you spot her and are not surprised. So you do have a chance to decide what you would like to do. So, would you like to dodge, or would you like to fight back?
I feel like John would throw a book at her. kind of go for the non-lethal.
So fight back, but not stabbing her.
Correct. Kind of, hey, this person's getting really close to me. They're now really super uncomfortably close to me, and now they're trying
So you're
to
thinking
harm
about
me.
Yeah, but
And
you
then-
see as
and then
she
just
starts to
kinda throw
move
a
in your
blow. Yeah.
direction. Yeah. Now, are you going to throw it, or do you want to hit her with it? Because those are different skills. So one is throw, the other is brawl.
I would probably throw
Okay.
and move.
Yeah.
And just try to get that distance between us again.
Yeah. And because you were aware of her, you can react before she gets close enough. So let's just see. What matters here is less the number than the degree of success.
Okay, so I'm doing a throw, correct?
Yep.
That is a 19 under 30, so that is a hard success. Or no,
It's a
not.
regular
Never mind.
success.
15. Yeah, it's 15. That's a hard success. So just a normal.
All right. Well, that's good for you. Because she whips this. You have just a glint of a very slightly curved blade that glints in the candlelight that she whips out very fast and expertly. And you just have time to grab a book, spin, and throw it. And she just spears it in the air. If it hadn't been that, it would have gone straight into your throat. And then she pulls back and kind of shakes the book off with a couple of hard looks and then just looks at you smiling. You see bottomless madness in her eyes.
Not my fault. Not my fault.
Yes.
I'm
So
going
who
to
has
yell
the
out,
highest dexterity?
probably be me with 85.
85. After that, what is your dexterity, BD?
A nice round 40.
Okay. And Sister Stephen?
Yeah.
Okay,
Also
cool.
40.
Great. So, John, we are now in combat. And as someone
good.
with the highest dexterity, you go first. Fun fact, none of you have guns, but if you have a gun drawn, you get a 50 to your dexterity in determining,
Oh, that's fun.
well, because it's really easy to just like pull a trigger. But, so John, you have just reacted and prevented yourself from being potentially murdered in one shot. What would you like to do?
I'm going to call out to the room and be like, this lady just tried to murder me, and I think she murdered the father. And then I'm going to scurry away. I'm not even going to try to fight her. John is not exactly a fighter, as you would say. But he is going to pull out his pocket knife just to kind of defend himself, and is going to run towards the sister.
Okay. Kind of regrouping with your
Correct.
Okay, cool. Easy
Kind of
enough.
power in numbers.
Yeah, easy enough to do that. Easy enough to do that. And there actually is a outnumbered mechanic, which is in your favor at this moment.
I know that.
Yeah, there is. So yes, you just run and I'm going to say join the group and kind of take up a bit of a defensive stance with your little Swiss Army knife. All right. Go ahead. So you decide, Sister Stephen or BD, which of you wants to go first?
Ladies first.
I mean, this is my first time in the situation as a player. So
I would probably,
Same.
no offense, but I feel like with Sister looking at the statue, I feel like BD would
Yeah.
probably have the better kind of aware of the situation. I think that one makes more sense
Yeah.
to me.
BD might
No,
go
yeah.
first. You're certainly aware, Sister Stephen, and really all you have to do, to Kelly, all you have to do is describe what it is that you're doing, and I will help. If that results in any rolls, I'll help with the actual skill part or the mechanical part.
I will attempt to use my cane to like knock disarm the woman
Interesting. So what is your build?
What does that mean?
So on your sheet, you should have a figure down in the combat
Oh,
section. You should have a figure for build.
A -1.
-1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just curious.
Yeah, because it's size and strength, and both of those are 40.
Yeah. Well, her build is not 3 higher than yours. So it's not impossible. So to abstract, actually it gets a little bit complicated, but I'm just going to abstract it and say, go ahead and take a penalty die.
Okay.
Because she's actually larger than you.
All right. Bodybuilding nun.
So you must be very short then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm short but stocky.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, her build is probably like 0, so it's just like 1 level.
Okay. And this is a brawl?
Yeah.
With a penalty die?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's re-rolling the 10s.
Yeah. Rolling the 10, taking the higher.
Okay. First is 32 under 35.
Yes.
Second is another 30.
Does
so
that
another 30.
Succeed?
It succeeds by
Well done.
3.
Well done. Yes. So this is effectively a combat maneuver. And so you whip out your cane. You move toward her decisively, close the distance, and just pull out your cane. What is the finial on the top of your cane?
Oh, it's like the rod of what is it?
Asclepius?
Asclepius. It's like that. But like it's
So
the 2
winding
snakes
serpents.
around the staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like stylized and like more simplistic. It's like a two-headed cane engraved to look like that.
Okay.
And there's like a brass or golden little like band, like maybe 4 to 5 inches from the top, and there's like a little gap there that he attempts to pull, and it doesn't
Right.
come out. So he whacks the hand,
Yes.
knocking the knife away.
Yes. And the knife goes flying. You hear it clatter onto the stone floor in the shadows. Sister Stephen. You can do whatever it is that you would like to do.
I feel like I have to keep in theme and just whack her with my ruler.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
not in a way that's like, yes, it's going to cause damage, but yes. Someone said something.
Yes.
No,
Is
please.
there? Yeah. Is it possible for someone to push someone into combat? So if, like, let's say Sister was like, I don't want to fight, I'm going to push John into combat. Is that a possibility?
Narratively, maybe, depending on the circumstances. But
Just curious. I didn't know if maybe that would be something Sister would be like, hey, you need to take care of this. Kind of, go for it.
You're free to say things, right? And really any action that you would like, which may or may not require a roll or have a mechanical impact. But so it's a fully narrative zone, just with a little bit of mechanics layered over it. But yeah, absolutely, Sister, you can walk up and clock her with your huge, heavy stout.
I have another suggestion.
Yeah.
You could try and find the dagger if you don't want to be like directly in combat.
Oh yeah, kind of just completely disarm.
Which would Sister Stephen do? What is your instinct, Kelly, for what Sister Stephen would do?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Sister Stephen is just mad. Someone's in the church doing the wrong thing, and like she's going to embarrass her with like how dare you, and just try to give her like she's gonna like if she could bend her over her knees and spank her, she would.
All right. For that, and for for tying into like the location and one of the prime motivators of the customer, the character, I will give you a bonus die on your brawl against her.
Is she considered outnumbered? Because I'm there too.
Yes,
Does that come into play?
it does. It provides a penalty on her attempt to either dodge or fight back. She is going to attempt to dodge because fighting back doesn't make any sense because she's unarmed now.
Once again, my first roll was a 7.
Nice.
Okay. Well, she got a success, both. She got 49 both times. However, that's just a success. And you got an extreme success, if I'm not mistaken. Certainly at least a hard success.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
What's
So
your
But
brawl?
you know what? If I need to, I'll add 2 luck if I can.
if you want to make
Or
an
can we
extreme
add
success,
luck?
you certainly can.
Okay.
Can you spend luck for other people?
Mhm.
Okay.
But spend that luck to make it
I'm
to
happy
knock it
spend
down.
2.
That's a good thing. She is unable to dodge out of the way. And with an extreme success and all of that, I think I would, and since the bonus die didn't actually benefit you, I think I would like to just max the damage.
I think that would be, what's DB?
That's damage bonus. You don't have one. If you have if you
Okay, so-
have like exceptional strength and dexterity and things and size, you get bonuses on top of all brawling damage, but yours is just 0.
I would get a -1 to that.
Yeah.
Because my DB, my build is -1.
No, there's a figure for damage bonus.
Oh, damage bonus is also -1.
Yes. So any kind of brawling that you do will do 1 less damage.
Got it.
Is this brawl or is this my ruler?
This is your ruler.
A
So whatever
small
whatever
club?
the number on your ruler is, I think it's a 1d6.
Yeah.
So you
So
do
6.
6 points of damage to her.
Yeah.
Great. I will say, BD, you know nuns, right?
There are no nonsense.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But this is beyond your expectations in terms of what a nun can accomplish with a ruler. Just walks up and smacks her on the side of the head, and you see this woman's eyes just cross. I mean, 6 points of damage is significantly more than half her health. She has taken a major wound as a result.
That's more
of
than
your
I can
ruler.
deal. Period.
Right?
It gets her with the metal side of the ruler, and it just good
Yeah.
slice.
I must say, blood. You probably burst her eardrum because you caught her right on the ear. Blood pouring out, and she is dazed. There's all sorts of bad things that are happening. Now, she's not dying because she's not at 0 hit points, but she's in bad shape from that one just crack of the ruler. I'm going to say we're no longer in combat. What happens?
I go for the knife.
Okay. Easy enough.
I'm staying behind sister at this point. I mean, she took her out in one hit.
You were hiding behind a pillar. You realize that hiding behind sister is safer.
Yeah, exactly. It's just as safe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just berating her and trying to see if, other than like her looking dazed, does she look different in her face? Has she like shifted personalities? Has she always been lying, or is she suddenly different?
Oh, psychology.
All right.
Can I also do a psychology to see exactly how crazy she really has became? Okay.
Yeah, I probably should be doing the psychology with a skill of 50, but whatever. I'm going for the knife.
Well, you don't have to be like right next to her observing her. You can just be, as you're going for the knife, thinking about it.
Okay.
I
Okay.
fail.
Okay.
With permission, I'll roll.
Yeah.
Okay. 005.
Wow. Is that an
Extreme success. Yeah.
Cool. You know what, John? I'll give you a bonus die for a reason.
For what reason? Oh, she tried to stab me in the neck.
No, that's not the reason.
Oh, is it Nikki?
No. Oh, Nikki's a guy.
Oh, okay.
Nikki Massetti. The Nikki Massetti is a contact of yours who is a perfectly legitimate businessman who simply connects people who like certain kind of rare and unusual items with the people who have those rare and unusual items. No questions asked.
Yeah. It was your father's dagger.
No.
I mean, I don't really know a reason. At least one doesn't come to mind.
No, I know the reason. I'm just.
Oh, you're just giving me a bonus die.
I'll give you a bonus die, and if you succeed, I'll tell you the reason, and if not, then you don't succeed.
Okay, so bonus die is just roll twice.
We roll the d10 again, and then take the lowest of the two.
Okay. Here, let's just re-roll it. I forget what I had. So that is a 25. Oh, a 25 under 30.
All right. And you got an extreme success, BD.
Yes, I did.
So, John with a regular success. At first, you're like, "This lady is crazy. I don't know what's going on with her. Maybe she snapped." And then you remember seeing the face in the window. You just flashed back to that moment, and you saw what looked to be someone calmly watching. Now that memory had faded because immediately she burst out being all panicked or whatever. And you put it out of your mind. But now that you know that there was no one else here in the church, it was her that was watching you potentially the entire time you were walking up. So you believe she waited until the appropriate moment to run out.
I'm gonna just go ahead and just blurt it out at this point because it's just kind of, hey, she was watching us walk up to this church the entire time and then waited for the appropriate moment to burst out of the doors.
And with that information and your possession of the knife, BD, as you look at it, as you look at the sigils that are graven into its surface, you know who killed the father. And based on your previous experience, you think you know why, in the broadest sense. This is someone who is deeply disturbed, in one sense, but also capable enough to pull the wool over everyone's eyes for the past 15 minutes or so. She's dangerous.
I'll say this dagger is a ritual implement, a sacrificial dagger, if you will. She must have killed the father.
Oh, there's blood on it. She didn't actually succeed in stabbing John. So
she could have picked up the dagger that had blood on it.
It's true.
But
no.
As a sacrifice to some thing.
So the other thing is, I'm going to go ahead and point out while she is she unconscious or is she just laying on the floor?
Oh no, she's holding onto her ear on the floor, muttering to herself.
Okay. So there's a keyhole that I've been trying to pick over there in the bookshelf. And I think that might be the reason why she tried to stab me. There's probably something hidden over there that she didn't want us to find out.
Does the dagger look like a key?
Ooh.
I mean, it could fit. It doesn't look like a key.
Well, like, do you think it could? Do we think that it might fit into the?
It might.
Is the size
the size is right.
Okay.
John has been interrupted every time he's tried to get his picks actually in to kind of have a sense of what the mechanism is like, but on the basis of, because it's quite small. It's one of these knives that's kind of inward curved, like a leatherworking knife almost, but with a very ornate. It's solid metal, very ornate kind of twisted handle. As you examine it, interestingly, on the pommel, the very base, there's a little symbol. Looks kind of like a sun with like tentacles instead of sun rays and a little 3 dots on the little thing. Only now that you're looking at this, It's a little bit like a mouth.
Mm.
Kind of gives you the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
Actually, just holding the thing is kind of odd.
I think with that, I'll attempt to hand off the knife to John, because and I'll mention. No, you don't take it. Okay.
Absolutely not. I don't take any of that. Absolutely not.
Oh well.
John wants
then I guess I
nothing
do
to do
take
with
it.
anything with blood or murder.
I
keep it.
feel like
His name.
if the sister saw John like recoil and she's right in front of you, she'd offer to take it because she just read the book and stuff.
No need to break your oath, sister. I'll keep the weapon.
So who was closest to this woman?
Right
I mean,
now,
you're all over in kind of that
Yeah.
that kind of corner of the building. So you're relatively close. I'm just wondering who was standing closest to the woman.
I'm currently closest, I would say.
Yeah. Because I went to grab something
Yeah.
and John went to get the lock. So.
no, I didn't go to get the lock. I'm standing behind the sister. So
Yeah, fair.
But you're talking about. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So then I will say both John and Sister Stephen hear the woman, and she is muttering. And she is muttering in something. A few words sound French, a few words sound Italian, a few words sound like nothing you've ever heard before. You do hear words like Ia, Santa Cristina, and something else, Italian and Frenchy that you can understand. And then another Ia, Yog Sothoth.
I
Fun.
do
Good.
an education roll to see if I understand what she's saying.
Sure. Good news is BD doesn't hear that.
Yeah.
I would just assume that if we understood the words, we would, we would comprehend them and, translate them instantly. So
Yeah, you'll see. I mean,
Good old
obviously, Sister Stephen recognizes Santa Cristina, but
awesome. I actually like this roll. It is a 100 over 64.
how can we make this worse?
I was gonna say I was trying to understand what she was saying.
Maybe he's
So I
like
failed at
unconsciously
that.
repeating it back, like trying to mouth the words
Ooh.
out, sound them through.
Or
I
he
like
gets
that.
the wrong translation.
No, that's actually a
Right.
very good idea.
I actually like that. Me just kind of unconsciously just repeating the words what she's saying to try to understand them. I like that.
And you do. Now I need you to make an intelligence roll.
No, don't do
Now
this.
remember, you want to succeed.
I don't think I do.
Yeah, yes, you do.
I don't,
you want to
I
succeed.
don't know. That is a 57 under 85.
Good.
Excellent.
You're gonna push it for spend all your luck, or
Yeah. We have some boons.
If
Right.
I may
Those
be
are
so bold. Well, first of all, you are
I mean,
actively participating in a Cthulhu mythos incantation. Ooh, let's see. Would you roll 2d6 for me?
yeah, sure. Do so. First one is a 5, and the second one is a 1, so 6.
Okay. Roll a d10 for me.
Yeah, 0.
So 10.
Yeah.
So for 10 rounds.
2 on the dice.
Oh, 2 on the die. So for 2 rounds, you are temporarily insane as you begin to kind of like follow along, like almost like you're like reading along with something and you're doing it a bit out loud. But as soon as you catch the cadence, it's
Too
like
late.
the words are out of your mouth without any knowledge. But unfortunately, you're very, very bright. So your mind, while you're caught in this moment of like, oh, this is weird, how my mouth is doing something it shouldn't, your mind is trying to dissect what's happening, to really grasp onto it, to understand the reality of what cannot be real. So you do suffer a bout of temporary insanity. Luckily, it's short, but it is long enough for you to recite quite fluently several rounds of this incantation. BD, what are you doing?
Being thankful I did not hand him the sacrificial dagger.
I would say John at that point would try to go after BD.
Nope.
Would,
the only thing
no?
you care about is helping her recite this incantation.
I was thinking more of trying to get the dagger is what he would try to go do.
If you were sane, you would. But there's something much more important going on.
Fair enough.
So BD, what are you doing?
And something's like obviously like he's audibly reciting this in time with
with a kind of
other sister.
with a kind of puzzled look on his face. Not like he's suddenly become like, yes, I'm a cultist, but like he's
like my mouth is taken over and I'm like panicking in the eyes. Like,
yeah,
why am I saying
very
this?
puzzled looking. So you're not sure if he's. I mean, he's clearly repeating it. I mean, it's not in perfect sync. He's clearly saying what she's saying. It strikes you as very odd, but he doesn't look like he's suddenly shifted and become a cultist.
Okay.
I do think that one of your companions trying to do whatever is going on is probably worth a sanity roll for the other two of you.
Yeah. I'm also just trying to
Because it's real weird.
figure out like the right route.
Yeah.
That I want to stop this somehow, but I don't.
And you can always have an idea roll.
Yeah. Well, sanity is a 53 under 59.
Take one.
62 under 76.
Take one. And then you can always idea roll. It's kind of like
I'd like to idea roll.
Any other systems, like what would my character think about this? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he'd like slap him or like restrain him in some sort. I think that's too far. So I'd like an idea roll.
Yeah.
Can I suggest something before you do the idea roll? Maybe just trying to shove like something in his mouth to maybe muffle him, to maybe just kind of stop him from talking.
I don't think BD understands that it's a threat.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And you're also not the only one chanting.
Also true.
Yeah.
Random question: is she inside the circle, or is she not inside the circle?
No,
okay.
she's just laying. She's just. I mean, the body of the priest is still in the circle, but she's just kind of like laying with her back up against one of the pillars, holding that bleeding ear, just kind of slowly rocking herself, eyes wide.
54 under 70.
So it certainly can't be good. You're chanting.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, there's two of them. So I would say to BD, it occurs, two things occur, two potential courses of action. One is, if indeed the chanting is really, really terrible, but you're not sure about, finding a way to shut both of them up, or you don't know. I mean, you aren't a practitioner of magic, although you have read about strange things. Maybe it's too late. Maybe it'll take 20 more minutes. Like some of these rituals that you've read about take days. You just don't know enough to know whether stopping both of them would have any effect or if it's the most important thing to do.
Okay.
The one thing that is certain, however, is that she tried to prevent John from getting through that passage. So it's a question of whether BD would try to uncover more about what's happening, potentially get to the heart of it, or just deal with the situation, not being sure if it's gonna change anything.
He is curious. He is intellectually curious, but he's also a doctor. And I think him seeing someone attempting to in distress would lead his decision that way.
To be
So
clear, John does not appear to be in distress.
Oh, I thought he said the eyes are panicked.
Oh no, her eyes are. He's crazy at the moment.
Yeah.
So what's going on in his head consciously is what's happening. He just looks kind of like confused on his face. His mouth is doing the thing. It's weird, but he isn't experiencing panic. He's experiencing temporary madness.
Understood.
It's super creepy.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try and shut him.
Not like, oh no, stop me.
I think I'm going to try and shut him up by like tipping one of the bottles back into his mouth. If he's like, if he seems what's the word, like placid enough and just repeating these words.
Yep.
I'm going to try to make him drink some of my miracle elixir, which is pretty strong alcohol and other stuff. So
I will say by the time you pull out the bottle and get over there and start to kind of like, trying to work it in there, 2 rounds have passed and he comes back to himself. And then and right as you pour some down and it's like,
I knew it works.
Yes, it's a miracle.
Yeah, it snapped him out of it. What's Sister Stephen doing? Feel like it's been on me for a bit, so I'm stepping back.
Does it seem like Sister Stephen could check her pockets or whatever sort of things the individual on the floor could be hiding? That could be keys or anything?
You could certainly search her.
So
Spot hidden. Yeah.
Button. Ooh. Um, 20 over 50 or under 50. So hard success.
Yes. So as you examine her, and her eyes kind of roll in your general direction, but she's lost to the world for a while, caught up in this chant. You find some of the things that you would anticipate to find. Her purse is nowhere to be seen, or maybe it's like over by the door or something like that. So like things you would anticipate a lady to have, like she's got a little handkerchief stuffed into the little sweater that she's wearing, and just little things here and there. But as you're examining her, you notice a couple of things. And I will say it's even as you pull out that little handkerchief, you see something on her skin, and you look and she does have a tattoo, which is extremely unusual. She's a woman and it's 1920 something. It is that same symbol. The other thing you notice as you examine her is that she is quite horribly scarred. Nowhere above the collar, nowhere below the wrist. But as you look, just lines crisscrossing. Old, new. You have been around a few sisters who take their devotion to extremes, to include self-flagellation as a way of purification for sin. This is similar, but you've never seen an example. You check, well, obviously without disrobing her, but you check, pull up her skirt just a little bit to see about the calves. Your guess is that every inch of her skin has been sliced repeatedly.
Does she need to make an insanity check for that or no?
Sure.
50 under 75.
Take one.
Okay. I think she would just kind of mutter like, poor child. And I think her next thought would be to check the father to see if he had maybe not the flatulations, but maybe a tattoo.
Ah. So you leave her and you go and check. He does not. You check the same spot and then just double check a couple of spaces. You don't find anything similar about him.
And there were no keys or anything on her, correct?
Correct.
Nothing of the sort. All right. Well, did you prefer BD or Mr. Mathers?
Doctor is fine, but BD works.
Doctor is Doctor. Would you try that dagger? I believe John may have possibly been onto something.
Right,
I will stay and watch her.
So I'll go up to the keyhole, turning this
would you give me a
dagger
listen?
over my hand.
Would you give me a
Listen?
as you
Okay.
get up real close?
I'm more of a talker than a listener.
Yeah.
So that's a 62 over 20.
Cool. I assume that you don't want to spend 42 lot.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, what do you do?
I look at the blade. I look at that keyhole. Does it look like it's good? It'll fit?
Yeah.
I slowly, tentatively look around and then insert.
You insert it and then it kind of hits, like it goes an inch and it hits, and then you're like, oh, maybe it doesn't work. And then because it's curved, turn it over so the curve points down, and you kind of realize it doesn't go straight in. It kind of goes at a little bit of an angle, and then just as you get to the little hilt, you can feel the tip catch on something, and then you push that last little centimeter, and you hear it click.
As I feel that tension, I'll say, I think I hit something, and then I press it. So there's not like there's at least a little warning.
Yeah. And then you hear a thunk. And a little bit of a click, 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 click. And then you feel this little panel pop loose. What happens?
I try to remove the panel, look behind it.
Yeah, it acts on a hinge. So you can step back, pull it, and open it. Go ahead and give me a sanity roll.
Oh, good. Now, what's that? What the insanity? Like permanent insanity?
Yes, indefinite.
Indefinite. When does that trigger?
So there's some ways it can happen, but the typical way that it happens is when you hit your threshold. So in any given adventure, it could be a day, could be a kind of montage of days, but any period where you don't have time to like rest and recuperate and get in touch with the people that you care about or spend time with the things that you treasure, if you lose that threshold, that 20% threshold of your sanity over that period of time, then you hit indefinite insanity.
Okay. I am currently at 58 out of 65, and that threshold is 13.
It means losing 13.
Losing 13 at once or in total?
In total.
Right. Okay.
So how many have you lost in total?
Math 7.
Okay, so you've got 6 more.
So, 6 more.
Yeah, you're good.
Just throwing it out there.
You're good.
I'm getting there.
Real quick question there, Zero. With me going insane, did I lose sanity at all, or it just kind of took over me?
Yeah, it just took over you.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm.
I should have given you a sanity loss. Take a d6.
D6. Okay. 4.
That is a 12 under 58.
Good. Take a d4.
You said it's
Big 4.
Nice.
So as we've learned, sometimes when you succeed on sanity, you take none. Sometimes you just take 1. In other situations, even succeeding, you can lose some sanity. Usually not enough to trigger a bout of temporary insanity. Oh, by the way, once you have indefinite insanity, Insanity loss can trigger it. So things get really interesting. So you're how far away? 2 away from?
2 points.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm only 4 points away.
What?
I was started at 50. I'm at 44 now.
What you see is the real statue of Saint Christina. This is a masterful work of art. Whoever carved and painted this was a once-in-a-generation talent. Tremendously inspired.
Does it almost look real?
Yes.
Okay.
Except no real person could survive the tortures that this individual has obviously been subjected to. The gruesome detail of the wounds and burns is revolting, and yet to your medical mind, fascinating. You're not sure in this brief glimpse whether this is carved of stone and painted or out of wood or what the material is. But this is instructive as to the nature of suffering. And the look on the face is, well, what's left of it, is rapturous. And it's really only when you look into the eyes that you can feel your hold on reality slipping. Because while most of you is instantaneously repulsed, and you feel a well of empathy, even though this is just a statue, you feel a well of empathy for the suffering that is so clearly, visibly represented in this statue. When you look in the eyes, there is a different feeling that wells within you. Curiosity. Because while the suffering of the body is beyond what you can comprehend, the bliss in the eyes is likewise.
I would say John probably walks up behind BD and looks at the statue too.
Cool. Same
Okay.
thing.
Okay, I was just about to close it, and then I get distracted.
Yeah, I think that was your first instinct. Is, oh, that's terrible, and close it, and then you see the eyes, and we see, close up of you just looking through this gap, and we see the look on your face change from this to, wait, there's something else.
Yep.
John.
So, do I take a sanity roll for looking at the statue?
Oh yeah.
Okay. 44 out of 44.
Oh, that's successful. D4.
D4.
You gonna head over there, Sister Steven?
Oh, no, I'm watching this lady on the floor mutter to herself.
The 2 sanity loss.
Okay.
I'm 2 away from my threshold.
You both are.
Yeah. I'm gonna look at the statue, and then I'm gonna pull out my note and kind of, I think this is what I'm looking for.
The statue is not, however, without even looking at your note, you can see in this almost photorealistic statue, among her many wounds is the hilt of a sword piercing her through the heart. And sort of wedged underneath the cross guards of the sword, you can just see the lower half is a medallion that the artisan clearly spent a lot of time on, because it looks like it's actually made of metal, and maybe it actually is an applique. Maybe it really is metal, but it does look very. I mean, this is the sort of thing where, when I say that this is a masterpiece, although it is not moving, you could swear you can see the texture in the cloth. It's just amazing. and there is a very recognizable item around the neck of this statue, kind of pinned to it by the hilt of the sword, or the crossbar of the sword.
I'm gonna say John's here for one thing, and that's that thing. So he's gonna walk up and try to pluck it out of the statue, even in front of BD.
How big is this panel that came open?
It's about
I was
4
imagining
feet.
it's like
It's about 4 feet,
okay.
4 feet by 5. So you probably don't have to duck much to get underneath it. But you know, it's a little bit, but it's wide enough that certainly as John comes over and maybe like can look over your head. And then
John's about 6 feet.
Yeah, and then can easily like open it wide. 2 people could, I mean, they would be a little bit squished, but they could stand abreast in the door.
Okay.
So John is going to, taking advantage of Dr. Mather's momentary fascination.
Stupor. Yeah.
I mean, you're free to act. You aren't actually yet in insanity.
Okay.
But
I will merely say, "You're going in there." As he steps through the panel.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say yeah.
You step in, you smell, you see the withered offerings. Flowers, fruit, other things, perhaps less savory. You can smell the smell of recent decay, and the smell of recent smoke from the many candles, black of course, that litter this room. This has not been sitting here as a secret for years. This is visited with some regularity. So you're going to attempt to remove the medallion.
He's going to pull out his pocket knife and just kind of try to pluck it out of the concrete or whatever the statue's made out of, porcelain, whatever it is.
I will say you without a roll, after a few attempts, you realize that it is literally held in place by that sword.
Okay.
But you're up close and examining it. And you could even peek around to the back of the statue. This little alcove, it's kind of a little narrow trapezoidal entrance into a roughly cubic room, kind of 10 feet on a side. So once you get into it, there's, and really the only light, by the way, is from the flickering candlelight coming in through the gap in the door. But there is enough light that you can look behind the statue, and you can see that sword actually does pierce the statue. But other than breaking or sawing off the sword or otherwise getting rid of it, that's what's going to be required to retrieve the medallion.
Okay. I'm going to look around and see if Sister's looking in the room at all.
No.
Okay. I'm going to look at BD and go, I was actually here for one thing and one thing only, and it's this medallion. So I apologize. And I'm just going to try to grab something hard enough to maybe like break the arm that's holding the sword in to try to pull the sword out.
It's literally
it's just the sword itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks like an actual sword sticking through the statue.
I'm gonna try to pull it out of the statue then and try to get this medallion out.
Yeah, give me a strength.
Well, that's not very good.
It's not really to determine whether you can, because it's not that hard. It's just to determine how quickly it happens.
That is a 45 over 40.
Would you like to spend some luck?
Yes, I'm going to spend 5 to make it just a normal success.
So, BD, what you see is John says this and then just reaches and grabs the sword, pulls once, and then immediately just pulls a little bit harder and the sword just slides out.
What sound does it make when it slides out? Is
It
it like
makes
on
a
stone?
Faintly wet sound. Well,
That's
it
what I
makes
was
a
afraid
faintly
of.
kind of stone on metal on stone sound for the first inch or so,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe the first couple of inches. But certainly as the tip withdraws to the back, it changes in a bit and sounds a bit more.
Yep. I'm gonna take a couple steps back, away from this thing. Look at Sister Stephen. Is she still tending to the other nun? Uh, Sister, I think John found something, and I'm just gonna keep like backpedaling, just like
So
moving away from this thing.
yes. So John, you have the sword. What do you do?
I would assume that I have like a belt probably on. I'm just gonna kind of. There's no reason for me to get rid of this nice sword either. Maybe I can probably pawn it off to someone. Maybe make an extra little buck on the side. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in my.
Put it back. Put it back. Quick. Put
Nope.
it back.
Nope. He's gonna put it in his kind of undo his, not really undo his belt, but kind of like pull it off to the side and kind of put the sword back and then start going after the medallion.
Out of curiosity, are you taking time to open your belt, remove it from one of the belt loops, slide the sword in, put it back to the belt loop, do it back up? Okay.
No, it's just kind of one of those like he just kind of everything his whole it's like you have everything tucked in, and so you see his belt, and so he just kind of like in between like the belt loops, he just kind of pulls the belt off to the side and just kind of slides it in there. And
Easy enough.
It has the hilt on it. It'll stay in the spot.
Easy
it
enough.
Is what it is,
Spot
and then
hidden.
just kind of starts. Okay. That is a 40 under 60. That's just a normal success.
You are kind of doing this, looking down the sword. You look back up, and the statue's face has moved. The head that was looking forward has now turned slightly. You think maybe it's a trick of light.
At that point, I'm gonna just chalk it up as maybe it's the trick of the light. Maybe it's maybe the head was already tilted that way. Maybe I just didn't fully experience the statue a whole lot, and I'm just gonna go right after the amulet. That's what I'm here for.
I did move away from the panel, so there's more light coming in now. It makes sense.
Yeah, sure. You have no real difficulty removing the medallion. You pull it off, kind of holding it.
How big is the medallion, by the way? So I can put it in my pocket. So I can put it in my pocket.
Well, I'm gonna say you remove it. Then you maybe have some more important things to worry about.
Okay.
So, well, first I want you to make another sanity check for me. Because the nature of the statue is about to become completely apparent.
Yeah, 35 under 42.
Cool, take a D4.
Oh gosh, hero, come on.
Crazy man with a sword incoming.
That is a 4, so that puts me under my threshold. That is a 38 out of 50 now for sanity.
Cool. As this happens, I also want to give you the option to dodge or fight back.
I would probably say with the way John is, I would assume that he would try to dodge over fight back.
Yeah. So I would like you to roll to dodge. This is the kind of thing where if there are any boons, you want to spend them. If you have any luck at all, you want to spend it all.
That is a 5 under 47. That is a hard or extreme success.
Good.
Now, getting a 1 is even better, right? Or is it the same as an extreme?
Getting a 1 is better.
So
if you knock that down to a 1, it means the only way that she can beat you is if she also rolls a 1. I will just say her ability to get an extreme success on a brawl is significantly higher than yours.
Mm-hmm.
But if you knock that down to a crit, the only way she can beat you is with a crit.
If we have a minor boon,
I don't know that we have any. You just use your luck.
If we do,
Just
I was
use your
gonna say,
luck.
if we have a minor
Just
boon,
use your
cough,
luck.
cough,
Just
would
use
that
your
bring
luck.
it down to a 1?
Just use 4 luck or whatever whatever the gap was.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm talking single digits.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's within reach,
There we
which
go.
is why I ask.
Don't encourage them, John. Such an enabler.
All right, I'll use
Thank you, John.
technically math says 5 minus 5 is 3 zeros, and then it's a crit failure.
We will see if she rolls a
That is
natural
a
1.
0, not 100. Come on, Kelly.
That was a very good call. She did get an extreme success, but it
Okay.
was not a 1.
Good.
So I will say, you start to kind of go, and then the hand reaches out and you can feel the iron strength of it as it grips on to your shoulder, but it mostly just grabs your jacket. Like, you're going to have a hand-shaped bruise on your shoulder if you live. But it just knots it up, and you can feel it start to pull. Then your indefinite insanity kicks in. And I'm going to build off of your previous actions and the bit of backstory. And the only thing you care about is fleeing. That every other consideration
It's gone.
is gone. So what BD sees is him do this, look up, start to kind of take a step back, and then you see the statue just in one almost instantaneous flash has him. That same look of glee, almost enlightenment on her face. And she has him, and then he just screams like a little girl. Yanks, you hear ripping. There's a little bit of a tussle as he just goes and like the seams of his jacket come loose and he's just pulling, and then he just goes running. As he does, go ahead.
I would say that John would probably just kind of weasel out of his own shirts at this point.
Oh yeah,
more or
you're
less.
weaseling out of the jacket. Yeah.
Everything comes off, and he is just straight like tank top, or if he doesn't even have a tank top on, he's
just out.
He doesn't have a shirt on.
Yeah,
and he's just running with just pants on.
Just
at this point.
Crazy at this point. And as you run, for interesting reasons, Sister Stephen, there's a clattering, metal on stone at your feet as John just goes barreling by, just yowling unintelligibly into the storm. You look down, and there's a medallion kind of rolling, settling at your feet. What happens?
I pick it up.
Yes.
Do I recognize anything from it?
It has that same symbol.
Yeah, but is it like... I guess what I'm asking is, do I need to roll a sanity check?
Oh, you haven't seen this. Well, I think both of you do for different reasons. BD, you've just seen the statue come alive, although you have seen its form before, which nearly drove you mad, but the fact that it's now alive and trying to kill people is probably worth another sanity check. Sister
Okay.
Stephen, yes, when you touch it, you have a very different experience. So roll sanity for both of you.
And the fact that I backed up didn't matter.
Oh, you
at
still
all.
saw it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you're not within arm's reach at the moment.
I can argue that it didn't try to kill me because it just grabbed my shirt.
Oh, it for sure. If you hadn't dodged,
Yeah, I know.
it would have been your neck, which would have minimum damage killed you.
That would be a 17 under 54.
Cool. D4.
13 under 74.
Cool. D4.
No, I can't spend luck points on the D4,
No.
can I? Okay.
You only spend luck points on percentile rolls, and not all percentile rolls can use luck.
Okay, and
Like you can't luck sanity or luck, obviously.
okay, so I can't luck this sanity roll down to like a 1.
No.
And okay.
Can't luck or sanity. Obviously, you can't luck because if you spend, your threshold goes down.
It's recursive,
Yeah.
right? 2 points.
Is that enough? Or are you going to make it out with?
That is my threshold.
Okay, so you're
Yep.
temporarily insane.
I have lost 13, which is my
Well
my threshold.
done. Awesome. I need to look up a word. I know what it is, but you're gonna get a mania, my friend.
Oh, good.
I'm curious what this word means. I've never heard it before.
I think there's an actual word for it.
I know manic, but not medium.
Anyway, I'll tell you in a second.
Okay.
Okay.
It may just be a certain form of a certain mania. Sister Stephen, the moment you touch this, you understand what actually happened to Saint Catherine. You know exactly what's happening here. She was a young, privileged woman, as privileged as people in those awful times ever could be. Her father did want her to become a priestess of his pagan religion. She was locked in that room with 100 idols, but she did so voluntarily. She did have a revelation during her time of isolation, but it wasn't what you would call holy. She realized that all of these idols, all of these gods and demons were simply shards, twisted reflections of some greater truth beneath. She found one particular idol that she happened to like the best and destroyed the rest. In her time of isolation, she crafted the first of the shields out of simple pottery. When her father came to retrieve her, he realized that she was now a threat to him. She saw how she could make men go mad, bend them to her will with a simple thought or look or word. And so he tried to kill her. It didn't work. The story goes on from there. You get little glimpses. You get glimpses of her laughing as she is raked across coals, laughing as she is impaled, laughing as she is drowned, finally losing patience, the amusement of her new immortality growing thin. She ended his life and then sought to build a flock, which she did quite successfully many times. She built flocks to bring about plague. She built flocks to bring about war. And of course, the fact that all of her flock died as a result was, immaterial. And as she accumulated followers and wounds, her presence became ever more hideous, and she learned to disguise it with spells that were whispered to her in her dreams, so that she could walk into villages and not be seen for what she was, at least not at first, not until after she'd made good progress building the next flock. And yes, in fact, that later saint was most likely her. It was only through having her heart pierced that she could be, well, not slain, but stopped. For if her heart doesn't beat, her immortal heart doesn't beat, then she's unaware, she can't move, she can't think. She has been here waiting as her followers fed her enough to keep her. But her followers knew better than to free her. They hoped that by feeding her and seeking her favor, that she would grant them power. But they certainly had no intention of allowing her to run free on the world. Unfortunately now, well, sometimes bad things happen. So all of that is the experience that you have in the half second when you touch that medallion. It is, by the way, whoever wears it.
Now,
The magic
question.
that she was given, the knowledge she was given by this intelligence beyond, well, just beyond, was just enough to enable her to first engrave the sigil and say the words over a shard of pottery, and later to have a more permanent item made. She is forever altered by the wearing. But the magic goes with the item.
And John didn't notice this magic because he went insane.
Yeah.
I was
All
gonna
he
ask that.
saw was, and also he doesn't have the background, and he also
That's
went
fair.
crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say I grabbed the medallion.
Yeah.
Did I experience that or no?
No.
Okay, that was my
Mhm.
question.
Gotcha.
You instead, as soon as weirdness started happening, were like, I'm out. So
At least I still have the
it's just
sword.
even.
Does she have any desire to put it on?
I don't know.
Roll for it.
I'm gonna flip a coin.
There you go.
She wants to put it on.
She puts it on. Cool.
Any sensation change?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
So, I will say it feels, I know right isn't the right word. To you, that feels like a good choice. So, Dr. Mather, what are you doing?
Mhm. Well, I'm currently insane. Does that matter?
Not at the moment,
Okay.
because what you have gathered, well, it does matter, but it's not going to immediately impair your ability.
Okay. So yeah.
You have developed a peculiar form of bibliomania. Something about the memory of that book, but you have to understand this. You have to understand this is just the tip of the iceberg, and you know it. So you need to add to your manias and phobias bibliomania, but specifically for occult and mythos related.
Awesome. It's like me in real life.
And I'm not downplaying. Your mind is
Yeah.
shattered.
Yeah.
But it is because half of your mind has been blown wide open
Mm-hmm.
to what's happening. But it doesn't mean that you are just standing there gibbering or are
Okay.
immediately taking self-destructive action.
Okay, it's like a permanent injury, almost. Yeah,
Yeah.
got it. Cool. Cool.
Indefinite. It can be cured. Best way to cure it is to find answers.
So my
Best
question
way.
is,
One way.
is the statue still moving or is it
Oh,
not?
100%.
Okay, before I determine what I'm doing, how quickly is it moving? Is it like
Weeping
because
Angel?
it grabbed John extremely rapidly? Is it like darting, flitting back and like towards us, or is it like a slow zombie? Or
It's like a clock.
So every tick it's moving extremely fast,
Yes.
but it's okay.
Cool.
So it's kind of like a weeping angel, but it's every second instead of when you take your eyes off of it.
And it's even slight motions. Like you can see and it still has this expression on its face as it holds. It was going to pull. And it's not quite every second. It's a little bit longer than that. But like as you struggle to get away, does it react and it just pulls the hand gripping half of your clothes in it? And then in one tick, just like the blink of an eye, it's looking down and it has dropped.
Okay, cool.
And then the next tick, it doesn't move, but its eyes flick up. And it's now looking at you, Dr. Mather.
I'm gonna attempt to like draw the sword out of the cane because the sword that was there is gone. I saw it. I saw John remove this. I saw the whole thing. I saw the sword get removed, and then I saw her start moving.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to remove the sword from my cane. Do I need to roll because we've established that it's damaged?
It's fine.
Okay. And then I'm going to attempt to stab her in the heart with the sword.
Okay.
Ooh,
This is going to be a really interesting roll.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Because you're not as bad as someone who's never had a fight in their life, but you're not awesome. So for those in chat, boons are probably good at this point.
We do have a minor boon and a major bane. Thanks, Kelly.
Oh.
Also, that's cheating because you're on this. You can't
No,
boon
it's
or
only
bane
cheating if you put in boons.
What?
I mean, if you want to sabotage yourselves, you totally can. Don't worry, Kelly. I have a fate worse than death in store for your character.
So, like, if I do this, it's not going to matter.
No, that doesn't count.
Okay.
But the minor boon from John does count.
That's two minor boons from John.
Okay, thanks, John. And you have luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say, because I am kind, and because in the moments where she's not moving, she's absolutely still. So it's not like you have to, like, it's not like there's even really any like gauging it other than when she's still. You could literally just put the sword where it needs to be and push. It's still going to take a roll, but I'm not going to impose what is normally a significant penalty for a call shot. So roll it up and hope it's within the range of a bunch of boons and all your luck.
Got this, BD.
That is a 900. So a 90.
No. 900?
Yes. No,
It's a
90 and a 0.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's a 90.
90. Can I push myself?
You know what? I'm going to say because, so it's combat, except you're attacking when she's effectively just a statue. So I'm going to be kind and say, because of that, and you're not having to dodge her fighting back, although you are putting yourself at grave danger momentarily.
Exactly.
But you do have the time where narratively we could say you were getting ready and then you mistimed it and she took a step and you can see her like just step towards you. And so
Unless someone wants
you can
to-
try again and redouble.
As part of the pushing of the die, I'm actually going to like grab her and steady the sword cane, the aim. So
Yes.
like even further making myself vulnerable.
Let's
Yes.
say unless our savior John over here in chat wants to give us a major boon. So you can flip that die from 90 to 9.
Oh, that was for Cowboys. You guys are pulp.
Oh, okay.
You guys are supposed to live. This is a different game, man. This is old school Cthulhu.
Okay.
Because this matters so much, I want to do it with a verifiable way.
That's fair.
Sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't use an RNG. RNGs are bad. They hate
okay,
people.
fine. I will roll.
Just roll your die.
Yeah.
47.
If you're
Which is-
running on the ground, you re-roll.
Which is close.
47
Plus 5 per minor boon.
plus 5, so it's like 50 something.
And we no.
Or no.
That deducts.
Okay.
So minus
down,
5
yeah.
for every minor boon.
42.
Which we have.
42 and then 37 for 2 minor boons.
Oh, and we have 2 major boons. What are you guys talking about?
Well, one of those is
them-
mine.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of them is Duckworks.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So we have 1. So that's a 10, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a minus 20
Okay.
to the roll, bringing it to a 27. And then I would like to spend 26 luck.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bringing it to a 1.
I have rarely encountered a better, more timely use of luck. And of course the generosity of chat.
Thank you, Chet.
You steady yourself, you prepare, and it's almost like you can hear. It's not the ticking of a clock, it's the beating of her heart. You hear the thud as she moves. And you step back a bit, you aim, you hear another thud, and you weren't quite in position. And she moves, and that you can, there's a screech as the tip of the blade cuts across her stony exterior. Realizing that this is a literal do or die moment, you accept that either this is going to work or she's going to be on you. Place it, and then you let both your thrust and her momentum toward you work. And although this is not a consecrated blade wielded by a Knight Templar,
You don't know.
it is.
I've traveled. I might be the honorary. No.
If you live, we can get to that. It is, however, sufficient to pierce her heart. And without the protection of the shield of Anum, well, it works very much like it would against anyone, particularly someone who has had horrible things happen to them that should have killed them hundreds of times. All of that, whatever it was that was holding her in this stony shape, drops. That every 3 or 4 seconds thud of the heart becomes this loud ringing, arrhythmic thudding. You can feel, as you hold the end of your sword cane, you can feel whatever it is that is now in her chest struggling against the metal that now pierces it, trying almost to twist the sword out of your hand. And she shrieks. I would make you roll sanity, but that's immaterial.
I can still roll.
Sure.
it
I mean,
just takes
we'll
the
need to,
damage?
we'll need to know what your sanity score is.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say, along the blade is engraved "Do no harm."
Now, would that be all of us that would do the
You are
sanity
out in the
check?
rain. You're good.
Okay. I was gonna say I feel like I would have struggled with the door just in the sheer like panic, but it's up
Oh
to
yeah,
you.
you're good.
Does Sister Steven need a roll?
Oh yeah. This is enough to
I
pull
got-
you out of your reverie. Go ahead.
I got an 85 over 52
Cool. Take a D4.
sanity.
Take a D4.
Only a D4?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
4.
Cool.
Cool.
Sister Steven.
6 under 74.
Cool. Take 1. Does that bring you to your threshold?
No.
Okay, cool. So you had a crazy high sanity because you were a super rational person. Cool. All right. Well, you slay her. That representation of further loss of sanity is the last thing that is burned into your mind is the look of bliss in her eyes as centuries of suffering falls upon her in a second. At the same moment as that shriek from her, and then she collapses, the chanting that you guys have been ignoring also rises to a crescendo. The most potent sacrifice possible has been made as the incantation was chanted.
Mm-hmm.
John, you are looking to flee. You're looking for somewhere to hide. You hide behind a tree. You hide in a ditch. You're just literally panicking, running. You see in the sky a thing that you cannot flee from. The storm itself seems to congeal into a body of leaden gray with a multiplicity of flexible tube-like arms. It hangs above the chapel. It is half a mile wide. You can see the clouds just being sucked in to form this massive shape. You can see these appendages snaking down, almost like the tip of a dust devil or tornado. First very tenuous, and then there's a thud that you can feel through your feet as this mass strikes the ground. I'm going to say you just hide because you can't get away. And I think in your panic state, the only thing you can think of is just don't draw attention. So you just get down in the bowl of a tree, cover yourself with leaves, and don't look, don't think, don't do anything.
So I would say with John being kind of like a wanderer somewhat, he probably went over towards like Kansas at least once or twice and experienced a tornado. I feel like he would hide in like a ditch.
Yeah.
Kind of, he would see it and go, hey, that looks like a tornado.
Yeah.
I know how to hide from these, and run straight to a ditch and
Hop in
kind
a
of
ditch,
duck down.
pull some stuff over
Exactly.
yourself, make yourself as unobtrusive as possible. So, Sister Stephen and Dr. Mather, as this massive gray, faintly smoky tendril crashes through the roof of the Chapel of the Eternal Heart, grabs the woman who's been chanting as she screams in ecstasy and rips her through the ragged hole. What do you do?
Was I still next to her? Because
Yeah, it came very close to you.
Well, Kelly just wants to be obnoxious and grab on and fly. But
What does Sister Stephen do? You are in control of Sister Stephen.
They remember that you have that amulet on, and you remembered all of those visions.
I feel like she's still no nonsense. Even though she had these visions, she still is in somewhat disbelief. And she's basically seen a nun be sucked up by what can only rationally be considered a tornado.
Yes.
And thus she probably would try to, save her. She doesn't want her dead, so she wouldn't want her sucked up. So yeah.
Cool. Give me a strength roll.
Yeah, I'm sure she's great at this.
And if you make this one, there's a dex roll to back it up.
63 over 40.
Would you like to spend some luck?
I just realized that.
Or you could, it's not combat, you could push it. Like you could try to grab on and like, oh wait. If you like.
Does push it mean just
roll it again?
Roll?
Roll it again, but the consequences of failure or worse.
Push it.
Oh yeah, 17.
Yeah.
17 under 50.
Oh, lovely. So you grab on.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Not to derail, but just quick question. Because I have that bibliophile thing, who has that journal of the priest right now?
She does.
Sister.
Got it.
Maybe it's on a pew.
Okay.
Sister Stephen, would you be holding on to it as you try to grab this thing, or would you maybe drop it to
I mean, yeah, I think she has both my hands.
Okay. So she had it, but she was kind of holding on to it, but has now dropped it. As
cool.
she grabs a hold of this whirlwind and it's pulled through the roof. Will you give me a dexterity roll as it retracts up towards the body in a way that is very violent?
I'll spend 14 and make it a hard success.
Wow.
Okay.
So, John, you see Sister Stephen. It's almost like you're peeking through leaves that you've covered yourself, and you're completely panicked. But in that massive adrenaline rush, time is moving very slowly, and you're picking out little details even at a great distance. You see this, what you now have to assume is some sort of awful cultist, just being crushed by this tentacle and yet screaming in glee. And then you just see Sister Stephen there holding on, looking very stern and businesslike with her ruler between her teeth, just literally riding the maelstrom as she disappears into the layer of clouds. Dr. Mather, what do you do?
In my mania, I look for that notebook that the priest had.
You grab it,
and quickly exit.
Leaving
my sword cane in the body.
As more of these tentacles slam down, destroying the chapel, you just manage to dodge as a beam falls. A big stone drops right behind you and you're not a super dexterous man, but whatever. You manage to dodge out and just book it. Are you trying to, there is a vehicle there.
Yes.
Are you going to take the time to try to see if you can start the vehicle, find the keys, all that stuff, or are you just legging it? It's a choice.
I think he's used to driving places and not super used to running.
True.
He's going to take the car.
Cool. How about you give me a luck roll?
Oh, wonderful. I have 16 luck.
Yeah.
That is 21. Over 16.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and use a boon, right?
Yeah, well, I think we just got one.
Yeah.
No, that major boon was from me. We do not have a major.
I will use that one, and then I will give you one.
Ooh. Thanks, Zero.
I'm suspicious now.
So, in
Because it's
this
awfully
case,
close. I tell you what, I will let you spend sanity instead of luck.
Hey, deal.
and John
So it's 5.
kind of pop up out of the ditch, realizing what's kind of happening, and try to run for the truck that was crashed and see if
Close.
maybe he can't start it.
Close.
If I see John, I'll let him hop in.
What's more that happens that you are watching this thing in the sky, but as you have to presume the father's car approaches, your primary and only motivation, which is to get away.
Flee.
Clearly, this is the best thing. So yes, BD, as you are pulling away, you see just like partially disrobed, covered in leaves, this creature lunge at you out of the woods. But before you hit it, you realize that it's John, and you slow down just enough to let him get in, and then you peel away. You are probably going to want to do something about your car and other things. But as you flee at top speed, luckily, because the storm was consumed to very briefly embody something, as you go away, you can see just the clouds, like, high clouds scudding. It's just that they're all scudding from every direction towards this central point. You can hear the destruction going on behind you. If you glance behind or look in the mirror, you can see trees just being thrown.
I feel like John would be the one to be looking behind, describing the situation to kind of give BD kind of the, hey, we need to drive faster.
Yeah.
This is what's happening.
You're
more or less. You keep your eyes on the road. I'll describe what's happening.
Looking out the back window, describing everything
Yeah.
that's happening, just encouraging BD to move. But although the roads are slick, the wind and rain has died down. You speed past the wreckage of your vehicles, marking its location, because even though things are not going so well for Dr. Mather, you are still invested in, getting your car towed and repaired and discovering what happened to all of your wares.
Mm-hmm.
But you speed past and don't stop until you hit Fall River. Sister Stephen has a very interesting night as she wrestles with the whirlwind. Eventually, however, this sort of manifestation can only last a short period of time, and sometimes the larger the manifestation, the shorter the period, as the woman is rent to bits around you. And as you kind of ineffectually swat at this thing with your ruler, your shockingly high strength and dexterity rolls enable you to hold on until it dissipates to the point where it is no longer able to sustain you, and you fall. We see this shot high above, now the moon out, hitting the rapidly dispersing clouds, as Sister Stephen just silently falls, punches through clouds. Below, 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 below. You land on the roof of a home with a lightning rod piercing you. The pain is excruciating. Go ahead and give me a sanity roll, just from all of your experience and now that you lie broken.
86 over 70 flat.
All right. I think dying but not is probably worth 2d4. No, make it 2d6. This is a life-changing event.
Got pierced by a lightning rod and you're not dead yet? Like,
You fought Cthulhu, sort of,
ish.
something.
Yog-Sothoth.
Well, or
I
a
have
tiny manifestation
3
thereof.
HP left.
Oh no, that was sanity. You don't take any hit
oh.
point damage. What are you talking about? So what was the actual roll?
Oh, it was 6.
Okay.
And that brings me to my indefinite.
So yes, it triggers momentary and indefinite insanity, which in you, I'm gonna say manifests. No one sees this, and maybe in the distance we see like tail lights going over a hill that the camera knows as you guys make your way back to Fall River. It manifests in Sister Stephen in a very internal way. You simply, it's a little awkward working yourself off this lightning rod. But eventually you do. The residents of the home, attracted by the loud crash and then the sort of scrambling and sounds of vague frustration and consternation from above, come out to watch you pull yourself the last little bit off the lightning rod, still in awful, awful pain. But everything is fine. Everything is normal. There's nothing to be worried about. And through your force of will and intimidating nature, although the proof of their eyes suggests something very strange is going on, the people who own this home decide that it's not worth their time trying to figure it out and simply leave you be as you awkwardly climb down from the roof and make your way to the nearest bus stop so that you can return to the good sisters of St. Agnes. Now, for those of you in the audience, something to know about Kelly is that Kelly wants characters to die. And so I thought in a game of Cthulhu, one of the best outcomes would be to have a character that can't die, but that can suffer all of the things that would be attendant with dying without the sweet release of death. So you're welcome, Kelly. This worked out quite well. I think that's where we end it.
Awesome.
I like it.
Fitting.
So that's a fair start to the Cavendish collection. One of the items of interest to the Cavendishes is now in Sister Stephen's possession, which may or may not come up later. So for context, we are beginning a kind of loosely interconnected set of vignette stories that may be one session, maybe a couple of sessions, with a larger kind of cast of characters. Players may choose to play different characters. Maybe in future, different players might play the same character, like share the same character. Doesn't really matter. Just building a interconnected continuity of stories about a series of strange items and those that would desire to possess them all for a variety of purposes that probably don't have anything to do with it in the world. So, well done, everyone. Everyone lived, sort of. And everyone's insane. Which is probably about the best outcome that can be expected. So awesome. Well, why don't we go around and if you want to share a little vignette, some indeterminate amount of time later when you're back under control of what your character is doing as a result of their experiences, that would be fine as well. So this time, let's start with villain this time.
So I am your only villain or Vil. So I feel like John at this point would have probably gotten back to the city, kind of got to one of his little hideouts from one of his associates and probably spent some time just kind of by himself, just kind of replaying everything, just kind of in his mind. He didn't get the thing that he went to go get. So he is kind of intimidated, I guess if you want to say, to go back to that person that gave him the note, Nikki, because he kind of failed the quote-unquote mission. But he is spending some time kind of by himself to kind of reestablish himself, to maybe try to build some sanity back up type of deal.
Yeah, in a flop house. So
yeah,
as John lies in a seedy flop house in what, Boston, you think?
yeah, I would say Boston.
Yeah.
Probably big city.
And it's a loud place, loud and smelly. There's usually fights, and even though it's prohibition, lots of drinking, bathtub gin. Boom, 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 boom on your door.
He would probably hesitate before getting up to answer it and see if they knock again. Kind of just wait. So he would probably get up, kind of have his hand in his pocket on his knife, and then kind of slowly answer the door and kind of brace it to make sure they don't just barge in.
A reasonably handsome, wiry man of Italian descent is standing there, a familiar face, one Nicky Massetti. Behind him is a much larger man, corpulent, fancy rings, very well dressed. You know this individual. This is little Henry.
I was gonna say, as soon as he sees that it's Nikki, he's going to kind of like respect the situation and instantly kind of like shut and undo like the latch and kind of instantly let him in. Yeah. Kind of like, my apologies, come on in.
Yeah. The man with him is Enrico Piccola, little Henry. He's not little. And you know very well that he is Henry or Mr. Piccola. No one calls him Enrico but his mother. You know what his business is. And we fade on John Doe's story as there's a lovely conversation about your failure to retrieve the item in question and the fact that although you do not have it, you know where it is, or at least where it last was. And you might very well be offered an opportunity to make up for your previous failure. Cool. Kelly.
Oh, hold on real quick. So before that kind of settles, John would actually offer the sword to Nikki.
Ooh, that's a good thing. Yeah.
Kind of a, hey, I didn't get the amulet that we were looking for, but I did get this thing. I do know where the amulet is. Maybe here in a few weeks or a few days, maybe I could go try to track this amulet down. Kind of like a peace offering, like don't hurt me.
We'll track that the sword is with little Henry right now. Cool. Kelly. Nope.
I was saying, I'm not sure how you feel about this, but I think it might be interesting to find out more what happens to Sister Stephen. We have to wait until next time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think we see a scene though, likely of her back doing her good works, because nothing's wrong.
Does no one notice a hole in her chest?
It heals, right?
You can put a new shirt on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I imagine her like getting on the bus with like a giant hole.
And, there's probably a montage of that, and then people going, are you okay? And you're like, I'm fine. And there's that force of will. People are like, okay, I'm not messing with that. But you just like clean yourself up, and it's back to your mania is everything's fine.
Then I'd say I'm just in whatever environment I'm normally in, a classroom of sorts, and there's something a little more cold about my delivery when I deliver the whaps with those rulers.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Sister Stephen, everything's fine. And how about you, Kelly? Where can people find you? Where can people find you?
Oh, sorry. You can find me and My Fair Kelly here on Twitch when I finish moving and eventually settle down. Other than that, I'm just in chat in most places like Juice in here. And yeah, hopefully I'll be back on this channel soon. Maybe Sister Steven might return. Who knows? We'll find out.
Sister Steven's the big bad, confirmed. All right. Hey, Doug.
Hey, yeah, BD goes back to Arkham, goes to that bookshop, and has a very long conversation with Mr. Lester Carney. Multiple long conversations. Frequents it. Sells the car. Sells the anything he can salvage from that operation, and establishes a more permanent residence in that area. Still making his elixirs. But on the inside of the label, there is now, like, in like white ink, almost like someone tried to draw a star, but kept going and kept missing the connecting lines.
Excellent. Yes, and I think good Mr. Carney might be willing to put you in touch with some individuals who would be willing to pay you to help them, and a way of leveraging your renewed interest in the unusual and esoteric to supplement your income. There's only so much snake oil one little town will buy. Although, then again, maybe they become a bit more effective. We'll have to see.
That's the hope.
So awesome. Well, this has been Call of Cthulhu, a prequel of sorts to the Cavendish collection. So you will just have to stay tuned to the next episode to find out what happens to these characters and all the other characters that kind of exist in this world. No one died this time, but it might happen next time. Everyone except for Sister Steven is potentially at risk of death, and Sister Steven may only experience things worse than death. So, well done. Thanks everyone for playing. Thanks everyone for watching later on YouTube. By the way, if you're on YouTube later and you have watched this far and you haven't subscribed, you should probably subscribe and maybe give it a like if you actually liked it. If you're still here, you probably did like it, and maybe drop a comment down the bottom. That would be super cool. And other than that, we will see you again soon. So goodbye, everyone.
Bye.